What is up, team? And welcome back to another episode of the Technical Foul. It is episode 95. We are creeping our way to 100, and that's kind of wild. 100 episodes will probably be hit, I guess, next week. No, the week after.
Yeah.
In a couple weeks.
And hopefully we hit 250 subs. I think we're at 241 right now. That number has spiked in like the last 2 weeks. It's gone up like probably 10 or 15 in the last 2 weeks. So we might be able to get there.
I believe in us. But yeah, as always.
I'll make a social media post begging.
Not as always, but as normal, I guess.
Yeah.
You're joined by the three of us. I'm Jack Anderson. To my right is JP Pusilowski, repping the BYU Cougars today. RG3 actually just released a video talking about how they deserve to be in the playoffs, and we need to stop persecuting Christians, which has then unleashed outrage in the comments about how, debate on if LDS members are Christian, da-da-da-da-da. Also, then people being like, well, Notre Dame's in the playoffs. And they're Catholic, they're Christian. It's classic RG3.
Yep. Do you think he does that intentionally? Like, you think he thinks about it, or you think it's just like who he is? Like, you think he's aware that that's gonna spark some controversy?
He is CTE.
Yeah. I mean, he had to play for the Washington Redskins in a couple years, and they just ran him out there, let him get battered. So I don't think he really knows. And then I haven't introduced you yet. Sanders Oakley, how we doing?
Fantastic. We are decorated for Christmas. We got a little Christmas tree in the corner,
Yeah.
so we're dripped out
Very festive.
for the holiday season.
Right below the Wembanyama jersey, which is really good.
Yeah, we may have to
placement.
figure out, a Christmas version of the intro theme song. I don't know, maybe jingle, like it's played by Jingle Bells instead of the usual. I wonder if AI could do that. If I put in a song instead, change this to bells. I don't know.
I think it's possible.
I had
How
another
old of a song is Jingle Bells?
like a million years.
Yeah, I'm like, is Jingle Bells really copyright at this point?
No,
That's what
Jingle
I'm saying.
Bells is Jingle Bells is fine. But I didn't want to do you couldn't do just Jingle Bells. I mean, like, I want our song played by Jingle Bells. That makes it festive, but it's still our song.
You'd have to pick the right version, but I can't confirm that Jingle Bells is 150 years plus old.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't go grab, like, say...
So I don't think it's in like the public domain.
Yeah. That's once again, I don't want Jingle Bells to be our theme song. I want our theme song played by the musical instrument of Jingle Bells.
Is it Jingle Bell really a musical instrument?
Yes.
Or is it just a bell that jingles?
Anything is a music.
Am I playing a jingle bell or am I just playing a bell?
Maybe you're just fine. I want our theme song played by bells to make it festive and holiday-like.
Okay.
I had another. What was my other tidbit? Oh freak! I just had it on my brain. What did it have? It had to do with, I feel like, Jack. I don't know. One of my. Oh no! It doesn't have to do with you, but I do think you've already heard it. Apparently, we have. So my mom has a friend whose sons go to school here, and apparently, when I was working a basketball game, with my camera, I went through and was getting fan shots, crowd shots, and a guy turns to my friend and goes, "Dude, I know that. I listened to his podcast." And then the person who I have known since childhood, because my parents went to school with him, was like, "No way, I've known him for like 20 years. Like, that's so weird."
What
So,
a moment. You're getting famous is what I'm hearing.
Apparently, yeah, I'm gonna have to start having my own security that follows me around. Like,
you
keep
may need to start wearing a mask when you're at the games.
Yeah, I think I will not do that. I was prepared to do that for the Egg Bowl if it was cold enough, but I will not.
Well, when
do
you
that.
wear the hat for football, you're kind of unrecognizable. So maybe
True.
you need to start wearing the hat for basketball.
Really? Am I?
Yeah.
Interesting. But also, for the people who know that I have that hat.
Not for me.
I was about to say,
from-
I'm probably more recognizable for the people who know I have that hat, because I haven't seen that hat on anybody else.
Yeah, not from me, but from people that I've said like, "Hey, that's Sanders recording."
They're like,
You're like,
no.
"Oh, really? I didn't know."
Interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just not noticeable enough yet.
It's also
well,
from
that
the
is-
it's
From like 200 yards away.
Yeah,
I
I'm
feel
very
like
like,
that's what you
separated.
want as the cameraman, though.
Yeah.
You want to be unnoticeable.
I can start wearing like pink or
unobtrusive.
orange,
Yeah.
a tie-dye shirt,
Have a speaker in your backpack. You're walking around.
play my theme song or
Yeah.
something. Just the technical
You
foul
can play
intro.
your
Yeah.
jingle bells.
My Jingle Bell intro.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I am doing. Is great. Oh, I mean, National Signing Day was yesterday. I spent a long time on Twitter and message boards and stuff. That was super fun. I'm not going to get into detail because we'll talk about a lot of that when we do our kind of what did you call it? Our Mississippi State off-season primer.
Yeah. We're just having to wait for Jeff Levy to detail what he meant by big
Changes in the
are
next
coming.
7 to 10 days.
You
but-
want to make a prediction real quick on the record? What the big change is?
I genuinely believe that Hutzler will be moved to special teams and we will be hiring a new DC. Because the best way I've heard it explained is either you're paying him to be the DC or you're paying him to, like, if we fire him, we pay him. If we keep him, we pay him. And so he's been a good special teams coordinator at Alabama, and he's done linebackers. So why fire him and pay him to do nothing when you could just demote him and keep him on staff, and have him do what he's been good at in the past, as opposed to trying to develop him into something he hasn't done as well in the past.
Sure.
And for the people who say, oh, well, he wouldn't take that demotion, my argument would be I don't think he's getting a defense coordinator job anywhere else. And so
Stony Brook is probably looking for one.
Yeah, but he can make DC money doing a special teams job, or he can make special teams money doing a DC. Like, I just think that it.
Would Lenny do that to his boy, his good friend?
I feel like that's in his best friend's interest, his good friend's interest. Like, he keeps making the money. He's still on staff. They get to be good friends in Starkville together. I don't know. I feel like I don't know. Are they really just like that good? Okay,
I have no idea.
I was texting somebody about this yesterday, and I was like, I don't get that card is played every time Hutzler's talked about. Oh, but Levy doesn't want to fire his friend. And I'm just like, are coaches not friends with most of the guys they work with? I feel like if you work with a guy day after day after day, you either hate each other or are friends.
There's a difference between like having a coworker who you consider a friend, and then having someone that you will like hang out with outside of work, and someone that is a friend that happens to be a coworker. I mean, I'm friends with most of my coworkers, but then I work with your brother, and like we're much closer friends than I am with any of my other coworkers, who I will chat up while I'm at work, and then I go home, and it's just.
So I just don't know. Maybe that's what it is. As maybe he is just like
he could hate Hutzler. I have no idea.
No, he doesn't. I would tell you that card is completely valid. There is no other coach that Levy, throughout the season while watching games, has celebrated more with or talked more with, especially specifically in pregame, though, celebrated more with, got hyped up with. That's like they're boys. They are 100% boys.
Yeah.
And so I think he would try to keep him at all cost. But at the same time, given that this has kind of been a year of we've gotten everything we've wished for, I think we're going to get the wish of he won't be the defensive coordinator anymore.
Yeah, that's what I think.
That's what we're waiting on. Where he goes or if he stays, I don't know.
We've gotten everything we wanted for, and yet I still see plenty of people complaining more than celebrating the season.
Not as much now that we got Braylon Womack. Now everyone is singing Levy's praises.
That can lean into what I was going to say for my update. I got two. And the first one is I've been paroling Twitter.
As one does.
It's still Twitter for me. I've never updated the app.
That's crazy.
So I still have
I'm really impressed that it still works. Like, I'm surprised they haven't, like, turned off.
It
Does
works.
it fully work?
Yes, I still have the
No.
Blue
There's
Bird.
something you can't do. I remember talking about
one
this
thing
in the
I can't
spring.
do, and I don't even remember what it is, but I have the Twitter Blue Bird.
Yeah. Show it to the
that's
camera. The camera cannot see,
zoom
but
in
it
on
is a bluebird for sure.
I've been paroling Twitter, and of course everyone that is celebrating, rightfully so, what State did yesterday. I just going through their pages and taking mental notes of who asked to fire Jeff Lebby this season publicly, and keeping mental notes of who not to trust next season. So I've got it's nearly, I would say it's nearly 50-50.
Yeah.
Of
so you sent
State
the
accounts.
screenshot, the screen.
That is from Hail State's Barstool.
That was actually a really funny video. I wish you had just posted that. That would have been funny, because what he did was he sent this in Yapping. It was just a picture, or it was him screen recording Hail State Stool singing Levy's praises for flipping Womack, and he just goes up, searches fire Levy, and in Hail State Stool you just scroll and it's fire Levy, fire Levy.
A month ago,
I did.
Was the last time he asked for his job. So
I was interested to see, because then I saw Jeff Levy's burner tweet something singing Levy's praises, and I did the same thing, and it didn't come up. So does that keep Jeff Levy's burner in the trustable source category?
No, because he's got problems with Josh Hubbard, where he suggested that we should bench Josh Hubbard last year.
I was gonna say I don't think there's any keeping him in the trustable source. I don't think he's been a trustable source, so you can't keep someone somewhere where they've never been.
Yeah. But that was a funny text from JP. But yeah, it's National Signing Day yesterday was awesome. And State is maybe not done. There's still a couple guys that we are trying to go after, a couple wide receivers and a tackle who have not signed with the places they're committed to yet. So we'll see how that goes. But it was just so fun yesterday. And the Chris Henry Jr. stuff that's still going on is just electric.
Don't go to Texas. We actually just talked about this on Tuesday's show. Texas wide receivers don't perform in the league, man.
Yeah.
Don't go there.
So that's been wild to keep up with. And it's as a spectator, it's great. I'm sure that for Ohio State and Texas, it kind of sucks because you really want to get this kid.
Well, for Texas, it's great because they weren't even in the picture.
True.
They're a late riser. Did you say you had two things, JP?
Yeah, the other thing
yeah.
is, so this year I've had the guy who had the best record in my league last year. He went, if I'm not mistaken, 11-3. He is 2-10 this year.
This
And
is a redraft league, right?
a redraft league.
Okay.
He's
Is he in
playing.
danger of?
Okay, so he happens to be playing the other guy who's 2-10 this weekend.
Cinema.
And so they're playing for last place. Winner obviously avoids. Loser has to do the Kamala Harris quiz.
Kamala, not Hillary.
Yes.
It's a bad look. I promise I know the difference between females.
As you should. He, I should say, not we. He has complained all season that it is a standpoint of just bad luck. And I'm here to bring the data point that I am essentially a coin flip away from making the postseason in all 5 of the leagues in which I drafted the team.
Sure.
The only league I'm not going to make the postseason is the league where my fiance drafted the team.
Tough.
So,
But in that league, it really doesn't matter. The only thing you want to do is not finish last.
There's
Correct.
no punishment this year.
Oh,
anyway.
I forgot there's
Nothing
not.
ever
never-
got
we
never
talked-
said what
which
it's
is really
done.
sad.
I still don't want to finish last because in my brain I feel like there should be.
I don't even
punishment.
remember if they did the punishment last year.
I don't think so because, I don't think they did,
I don't think they did.
and they're no longer together. So
Regardless, though,
Try for the
5
best.
for 5.
That's actually the punishment is break up.
I mean, we've done it once, and currently the person that got last proceeded to break up. So maybe it's a curse.
Maybe I should have just taken the L for the team and finished last since me and my teammate are not actually dating. I
Yeah.
should have done that. I really should have taken the fall for
I think
everybody
it was
else.
too late. I'm pretty sure you had
Pretty
too
much
big of a
too
lead.
late.
I don't
let
think
me
you
see
could
who's.
have
I don't even
plummeted.
remember who's.
I'm
in
not
last
that
place
far.
right
I think
now.
I'm like a game or 2 out of last place.
Well,
we
there's
only-
only one league left.
One week left. Yeah, I don't know.
That's neither here nor there. That is cinema, though. I love a good last place duel.
Yeah.
I'm really excited talking about.
Sorry, 2-11 versus 2-11. Even worse.
You're a coin flip in all 5 leagues. One of those being the keeper
The
league.
keeper
with-
league is really the only one that's going to keep me from missing the postseason in any of them.
That's going to keep you from missing. Like you think you could.
If
miss
I
there?
lose that
Yeah.
game, I miss the postseason. If I win it, though, I'm in pretty much every league.
Basically, there's a couple 8-5 teams, and then a bunch of 7-6 teams. I at 8-5 play another 7-6 team. You at 7-6 play another 8-5 team.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just perfect that everyone that's right on the bubble plays each other. So you feel like you have it in your control in a lot of ways. It's going to be a great weekend. I do wish I was not starting who I had to start
Yeah,
in that league. So
I'm 1 game ahead of last place in that couples league.
are you in it this year?
Yeah,
Oh, I forgot.
yeah,
I was confused.
yeah. I told you because it's me and SR.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
so
yeah.
we're not dating. We were just like we want to play.
I thought you were talking back to last year, how last year you should have tanked it at the end because at that
No,
point it
I was
didn't
in the
matter. And that's
playoffs
what
at
I'm
that
saying. You
point. There
couldn't-
was no way of saving.
So that's
that.
why I was like, oh, that was impossible.
should have
I
tanked
see
there.
what you're saying.
Yeah,
now.
I'm saying
What if
because
it reverses though?
and
then
me
y'all
and
end
SR
up-
get last and then we start dating.
Yes, correct.
That'd be wild.
I mean,
Wild How I Met Your Mother story.
yeah.
Um,
we got last in a fantasy league.
All right.
Shall
Do
we
we
get on
want to
topic?
start talking
Yeah.
about football?
I guess we can. No people's poll
If
today
that's desired.
because the website is bugging and it's not showing any data in anyone's
Yep.
polls. So there was no way to put together a poll when there's no ballots.
Yeah, I genuinely have no idea. I put my ballot in this morning. I made it earlier this week and just forgot about it. And then went in this morning to try and find it. Okay, it's kind of loading now. I'm not going to do
It's
anything.
too late now. It's
It
too
is
late
too
now
late.
anyway.
I have
Um,
my ballot. That can be the people's poll.
Sure,
Um,
sure.
I mean, real quick here, just because we already have the people's poll, Ohio State is 1. Oregon jumps up to 4. I'm not going to put it up on the screen because I didn't make it graphic. We do have Notre Dame at 10, Miami at 13.
Can we read where A&M is? real quick?
Vandy is down at 11. Excuse me, A&M is down at 11 because somebody did not rank them.
That has that has to be a mistake.
Was
right?
it me? Did I not rank A&M? Shoot, wait, what?
Oh
Okay.
my gosh, he's such a hater.
No, I'll go fix that.
This
Yeah.
solidifies you're the hater of the podcast.
No, that was a typo. That was a typo.
It literally can't be. It's hard to forget about a team that you had pretty much consensus
No, it is.
top 3 all season.
No, I forgot about him.
Diabolical, man.
Yeah, Jack, you forgot about Oklahoma like 2 weeks ago, and you
But
were
I
one of them
fixed
top
it.
10.
I fixed it before the show. I fixed it within like an hour.
Well, there's no graphic, so technically there's no evidence. I will fix that later.
You just mentioned it live on air. We have you on recording.
Oh
You're
man,
outnumbered
just
as
fire
well.
me. Just fire me. I quit. You guys got it. All right. Well, the people poll is just cooked this week then because A&M is at 11 and the website's not working. Yeah, I can't believe we don't have. I
You
mean,
couldn't even.
with A&M at 11 and Texas at 14. I can't believe we have A&M over Texas. Like that's just we don't respect the head-to-head.
Yeah, because also Notre Dame's at 10 and A&M's at 11. So those teams definitely didn't play.
Yeah,
week
we'll.
3.
I'll go fix my ballot after the show.
Sure.
Y'all are welcome to go take your screenshots now if you like, just as evidence. But I'll go fix that after the show. All right, that is the people's poll, and it's
That's the best people-
scuffed summation.
That's the best People's Poll segment we've ever had.
Yeah, the shortest too.
Now we can get onto the conference championship games that we are going to preview, being the 4 Power 4 games as well as the American. We considered doing this Sun Belt because it technically does have playoff implications,
Well, the
except
Conference USA Championship has playoff implications. Well,
debatable, way less likely.
if every team that's favored loses,
I think Boise State would get in over Kennesaw.
I agree.
I just disagree.
Also, is there a
Tennessee-
chance that Duke gets
Or
in
just
over?
Duke gets in over Kennesaw.
I also disagree. KSU has a better resume.
Mm.
They will have also
JMU's had a
avenged-
better resume than lots of teams that they've still been behind.
KSU will have avenged their lone loss in Conference USA play this season if they were to win the conference championship, which has been used as a debate point in previous playoffs.
What's their other loss out of conference?
Their other 2 losses are
They have
to
3 losses.
at Wake Forest and at Indiana. What do you want
So
me to do about it?
Do you think we'll beat Wake Forest would be the first thing?
Well, they tried to, but they missed an extra point. Otherwise, they went to overtime and won that game. They lost 10-9.
Well, tough. Kickers matter. Who are Boise State's losses?
Boise State has 4 losses.
Oh, really?
Yes.
But they only have the 2 conference losses.
Correct.
Okay. Man, I really just hope that JMU and
Boise State's lost to Notre Dame. I know that.
I hope that JMU and Duke win.
23.5.
Yeah, so I think we're probably good there.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, let's talk. Do we want to start with our team?
We can start with my team or your team. It's up to you.
We're going to start with our team.
My team.
BYU. I'm just going to restart.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
I appreciate it. BYU and Texas Tech face off in the Big 12 championship game. It's a rematch of an earlier season matchup that did not go BYU's way. Texas Tech got up to a 26-0 lead and held from there and won 29-7. Kind of coasted. Dominant showing. Different opinions on the squad here on what that really was. Some, like me, and I think Sanders, though I don't really want to speak for him, thinks it kind of showed that Texas Tech is in a class above BYU. And JP believes that it shows that, hey, BYU has a real chance to flip that score. I'm not saying they win by that much, but be the team with more points in this edition. Vegas kind of agrees with me and Sanders. They have Texas Tech as a 12.5-point favorite on a neutral site. This game is at 11 a.m., kind of what kicks off the Saturday slate of conference championship games. But y'all's thoughts on this game?
Well, I guess I can get into me and why.
Sure.
I don't feel like that first game is a testament to what the second game is going to be. And for much of the people that have previewed this game that I've seen, at least so far, it has been said that, oh, well, Texas Tech kicked 4 field goals. Imagine if we turned all of those into touchdowns, and that is 16 more points, and it's really just a blowout. It's 45-7. I get that. But also, at the same time, I think things for BYU defensively. They were able to force those field goals for one thing, and then on top of that, they had a really bad day when it came to turning the ball over. They were -3 in the turnover battle, 3 turnovers to 0. LJ Martin, their best weapon, their running back, came into that game with a shoulder injury. Didn't have a great day on the ground. And BYU as a team only rushed for one less than 68 yards. LJ Martin had 10 carries for 35. Bear Bachmeier had what looked like his freshman moments. But I'd argue that I thought BYU was actually closer to being in that game than people would argue. They just were playing, one, on the road, and then two, they allowed the huge momentum plays to swing the game. And that being Texas Tech is forced into a 3-and-out by BYU's defense to start the game, and then you go and muff the punt. That Parker Kingston, one of their best weapons, BYU, I just don't expect that to happen again. I don't expect the ball to be put in harm's way. I actually think BYU wins the turnover battle in this game because that is something they've done all season, is win the turnover battle. They're one of the best teams in college football when it comes to doing that. Also, with what I saw from LJ Martin 2 weeks ago against Cincinnati on the road, playing through clearly injuries, is he that much healthier? Probably not. But he showed so much competitive character and he just showed that dog in him, really. That cougar in him, you might say. He would not be stopped. They gave him the ball 30 times in that game, and he was electric. He kept picking up big gains. He kept breaking tackles. When 3 guys were trying to tackle him, he'd still find 3 or 4 yards out of it. I expect him to do something similar against Texas Tech in this game. And on the flip side, I think what was not talked about enough is Morton did not have a good game. Texas Tech's quarterback. He was sacked 5 times in this game for -47 yards. So the BYU front, even on the road, had a good day against him. And then also he was really not efficient. 17 for 32, 219 yards. I think that very well could repeat itself. He put the ball in harm's way a few times, and BYU couldn't convert on that. Let's say they do in this game. So for much of the public saying, oh, it could have been worse, sure, any game could have been worse. I just fully disagree. I think it could have been better for BYU, and I think it will be better on Saturday. I know you guys feel differently, and you're welcome to make your cases for that. But I think Bear and Kalani Sitake and the vibes around this team, while the vibes are positive in Texas Tech as well with Joey McGuire, I think the vibes there are going to carry them to being in a much more competitive game. And I won't guarantee the outright win at this moment, maybe in 2 minutes, but
Sure.
I think they're going to be in a much more competitive game, and I refuse to believe that this is a blowout. Maybe Texas Tech covers the spread because Texas Tech is up 7 and they're driving late, and BYU can't get the stop and they score a touchdown. I'm going to predict something similar in a different game later, but
Yeah.
y'all are welcome to make your cases for. I would assume you guys agree it could have been worse.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at the amount of times that Texas Tech got kept out of the end zone, and I don't expect that to repeat. I expect them to find the end zone at a higher rate. I'm not saying they're going to be 100% in the red zone or 100% on that conversion rate, but they were held to a lot of field goals in this matchup that kept it feeling closer than it really was. Even after the muffed punt, you talked about, one, credit to BYU for holding them out of the end zone, and I know they're stingy, so I expect some of that. But I expect BYU to convert some of those field goals into touchdowns on this return. And I also just don't necessarily expect LJ Martin to have a much bigger day than he did last time. It may be a little better, but you ran for 2.5 yards per carry last time, and that's simply not enough. That's when you end up having Bear Bachmeier turn the football over because he has no run game support. And I'm worried about that again.
Yeah, I think that Texas Tech almost played like I agree that it could have gone better for BYU. It could have been better, but not with how I think that your argument about it could have been better without much changing, I don't think that's fair because it could have been a whole lot worse with the Texas Tech not getting in the end zone, the turnovers BYU had. I think that Texas Tech really underperformed given the opportunities they had. And so if you go into this Saturday and you have a conference championship matchup and you give them half those opportunities, and you play and BYU still plays their same game, you could find yourself losing by more than 22.
Now, here's the sticking point, and this is where I kind of agree with you. I don't think Baron Morton's really that great of a quarterback. And so there is a chance, and I think it's BYU's best bet, is that he just lays an egg offensively.
Would you agree 100%? Maybe not 100%. 90% of the luck went to Texas Tech in that game.
You don't, I mean, luck, catch the punt. That's your own fault. That's not luck. You got to catch
Yeah,
the
I
punt.
agree if it's Austin Williams, but I don't agree with it being in Parker Kingston.
Catch the punt.
He will catch the punts.
He didn't.
That's 3 points right there.
I don't know.
Man,
And for you guys,
now
it's
it's
actually
26-7.
well. Now for you guys, is actually an argument that it's 7 points because you think they're going to score a touchdown when
Yeah.
they get in that spot.
I just don't. Luck aside, I think straight up, BYU's offense versus Texas Tech's defense is a major. It's a majorly lopsided matchup in Texas Tech's favor, and I just really struggle to think BYU is going to score enough points to win this game.
Yeah.
And enough points to really have this be like a 3-point game or a 7-point game, a 1-possession loss.
Yeah. I don't think that it was all luck. Now, I do think that for BYU to have a chance, they're going to have luck. I think that Texas Tech is the better team.
That's how they've won games all year. I understand that.
So I think that BYU is going to have luck on Saturday. They're going to have Texas Tech be the one that muffs a punt. And I do think that because Texas Tech is a better team, the luck argument, it is still semi-reasonable, but also better teams just execute. And I do think right now Texas Tech is a better team. They're a top 5 team. They've been dominant all season. Their defense is great. So I think that Texas Tech is a better team than BYU. You would probably argue it's a little bit closer than me and Jack might think, just given
Absolutely.
how the last result went. You disagree?
No, I was just. I had
and
another
so,
point, but keep going.
Because of that, BYU is going to need some of those lucky things. They're going to need Texas Tech to muff a punt. They're going to need a batted ball at the line that just falls into a linebacker's hands. They're going to need stuff like that, and then they're going to need broken tackles from the running backs. They're going to need guys in the backfield to give Bear Bachmeier the best opportunity to succeed, and that a lot of that does come down to luck, in my opinion. But I think that when the better team wins by 22 points, it's not as much luck.
My question, and this may be how BYU creates some of their own luck, I guess. Does Texas Tech trot Jacob Rodriguez out there, first and goal on the 3-yard line?
Maybe for a run. Don't make him throw it again.
Why not though?
Because
They claim he's a quarterback,
he threw a pick.
and it's easy, and he can do it too.
Can't afford to throw a pick in this game.
I'm just curious
From
why
Jacob
they.
Rodriguez.
If you're
I
doing
mean-
it against UCF and you claim it's a big deal, why wouldn't you do it here against BYU?
Can't afford to
They
turn it over.
can because they can lose and still be in the playoffs. Do you think this? Okay.
But the Big
Oh.
12 championship matters.
Whoa,
think
Conference
f-
championships
for
matter
them.
now. Conference championships matter now.
For them, it matters.
That's crazy.
The large part of my
definitely
argument there
matters
was
for
that there
them.
are coaches that wouldn't feel like it matters, a la Lane Kiffin, who will literally punt on a playoff team to go to LSU. Punt on he probably would have punted on a chance to play in the SEC championship, if we're being honest.
Yeah, he would have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think for BYU and Texas Tech, they do care about their conference championships.
Now he might have threatened to take the dog if they didn't let him coach in the SEC championship.
It's not even his dog.
I know,
He
I
didn't
know.
want the dog.
I know.
He had no grounds to keep
I
the
know.
dog.
I'm just.
But apparently
I'm
the
just
dog
joking.
is going to LSU. I've heard.
I did see he tweeted something from the account he tweeted a tiger photo. So who knows? Couple other questions. Does the Satake staying news impact? What are your thoughts on that? Huge news for BYU. Donors getting involved and telling him
Shout out Crumble Cookie.
Yeah, I mean, as BYU fans, we love to see that because we don't want the coach to leave. But how does that impact this game, the narrative in the week leading up to it, the 2 weeks? And is it zero impact? Is it in BYU's favor? Right, the team feels like in a facing the Giants way. Not that the teams are that far apart, but when you're the underdog, sometimes it helps to have that extra fire.
We were 12.5-point underdogs.
Yeah.
It feels that way.
Yeah. So does your head coach turning down the Penn State job, does that get you ready to run through a brick wall? Does that make any impact in the game?
I saw when Satake announced that he had signed the extension, they posted a video of it. He announced it to his team. I mean, that is It's up there with like all of. That's what a coach and team celebration as top tier as it can get, and that's what it was. And they were jumping up and down for nearly 30 seconds. So I think it will have absolutely impact on the team. I also think it has already had impact on this season, and then of course will have impact on the BYU Cougars in the future. I think it's a misconception this year that this BYU team is last year's BYU team. And I will make the same argument here when we talk about the Big Ten Championship. This year's Indiana team is not necessarily last year's Indiana team and very clearly not Indiana's football history. They are a more talented team all around this year, and that reflects in one Josh Pate's JP poll that they're 16th in the country, that they're even in the JP poll where he had to make a I forgot the word.
Did
Executive override.
Yeah, he had to override
override
his own model and put them in the JP pool. And I think it's going to help them going forward, of course, the Satake extension. And, of course, I think the NIL money, crumble cookie, a la, will help them out a ton, which all that stuff has been hilarious. Crumble cookies had at like a Virginia Tech
yeah.
party or whatever.
On their signing day, for their signing day coverage, I guess they had him there for the media members or
Yes,
whatever.
that is hilarious.
Yep.
But I think already it has made that impact on this team this year. This team is way more talented, even with the true freshman quarterback who's wearing number 47, which you would just never expect that to go well, and it has gone well. And I think talent perspective, I think they're right there. They are not Texas Tech from a talent perspective because they haven't put that amount of money on the team. But I think they are right there, and the extension it can only help. It can only help them be more locked in and ready to go and play with a ton of fire. I think they walked into that game not knowing and not expecting, one, that kind of environment. Did really anyone really outside of Texas Tech fans expect that kind of environment and that kind of buzz around the school? College game day, all of that, ABC, Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, all of that buzz. And they were walking in there as complete underdogs in that game, and I think they played like that. Now they get to walk into what is going to be a neutral field. I expect probably 70-30 fan perspective.
Where is it?
It's in Dallas. It's in Arlington.
yeah.
So with Texas Tech, I think they'll make the trip east to Dallas and be in that game, and if Texas Tech fans in Dallas as well. So I don't expect a huge BYU crowd. That being said, it's a neutral field still. You're playing on a neutral field, neutral locker room, stuff like that. I think they'll play with a ton of fire. And I that's a large part in the reason I feel like that they can be competitive in this game is because Satake has really brought this team around him. They've shown that they're going to play like dogs for him. They have that David versus Goliath feeling, that really big underdog feeling. For one, they are 12.5-point underdogs. For two, it's a team they've already lost to, and people are saying that they should have lost by more and will lose by more this time. Three, they're being held out of the playoff, unrightfully so, in my opinion, and to a lot of people's opinion, especially around the BYU fan base. Who doesn't feel that way? Texas fan base feels that way. Vandy does, but they feel specifically that way, and so they know what they have to do. They have to win this game to make the playoff, and I think they're going to fight like heck because they don't say hell, I assume. I don't know for sure.
Hell
actually.
could be a weird exception.
Yeah.
But I bet in that scenario they wouldn't use hell. They'd probably be heck.
Fight like heck, and I think they're going to be really competitive in this game because of that, because their season's down the line. Texas Tech's isn't, and you've already kind of made that point. Texas Tech cares, of course, about the Big 12 championship, but their season isn't on the line, and so maybe they don't come out guns firing. They come out feeling, oh, we're just going to punk this team, and then suddenly they get punched in the mouth to start the game. Or LJ Martin just continues to run through tackles, and suddenly they're behind, and suddenly they have to catch up. That's something Texas Tech really hasn't had to do much of this season. They're one of the best teams in the country when it comes to first quarter scoring. And so I think if BYU wins that first quarter, we're talking about a really, really competitive game as we get into the second half. So going into picking this game,
Yeah, and I think if you go where you go, I think
Trillito in the chat?
Trail. No, yeah, not Trillito with no dyslexia today. Trail to 100 is calling a BYU win.
Did you call him Trillito or did
No,
JP?
I
it's
did,
JP.
I did.
That's
JP
right,
called him
that's right.
Trillito. He got the I and the L, and on that screen far away, it is difficult. JP,
Now-
he's called a BYU win. Do you want to make your pick, and we can see if you agree
Well,
with
is
him?
he first?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot we have to see
I
who's
think
first.
we're
in the
tied
pick.
right
So
now.
I think it's still JP.
It's still- it
because
would
of
still
that.
be
still
JP.
me, because I am the last person to hold the solo lead. Trail to 100 makes a great point, and I hadn't said it yet, but I wish I did, and I will now. They're the first team in 30 years that is 11-1 as a Power 4 team and did not finish the regular season inside the top 10, whether that's the BCS College Football Playoff or AP poll. And that is, it's true. They've been slighted all year. I think they're going to play with a ton of fire. I will take BYU to cover easily, without a doubt. And I won't fence right here. I think BYU wins this game. I think they win it by 3. I think they have more to play for because their season is on the line, and Texas Tech isn't. Texas Tech, of course, still playing for the first-round bye, so there's nothing off the table for them in a Big 12 championship, of course. But I think the Cougars will play like a ton of dogs, and I think they'll find a way to win this game. I think they'll punch first, punch early. The luck will be on their side. I think LJ Martin gets to 80 yards. I don't think he gets to 100 because that Texas Tech front is so dynamic, and they're the best rush defense, if not, they're top 3 in the country. But give me, for sure, at least technically ours still, I guess, BYU Cougars to defeat the Texas Tech Red Raiders Saturday, noon kickoff in Dallas, in Jerry's World. That's my pick.
Good pick. Sanders, whenever you're ready to fire, you can fire your pick out there, and then I will follow.
Yeah, I will be picking BYU to cover. I don't think I'm going to pick the BYU upset, which I could have said that, to cover my butt as a BYU fan, but I still think that Texas Tech is the more talented team. I will say this. I will pick BYU to be competitive. Thank you, JP. I will pick BYU to be competitive enough that the committee is going to have to put them in. I'm talking like they lose by a touchdown, and the committee is going to have to recognize that this team is a top 10 team. They hung with our number 4 or number 5 team in the country, number 4. We cannot leave this team out. This is a top 10 team. So that's what my prediction is. BYU will cover, lose by a touchdown, be competitive, and that will get them in the playoffs.
The committee doesn't have to do anything.
True.
They live in their own world, so I don't know if I would expect that because I think they'd already be in. If
Well, the
committee-
computer model that they use and pretend is what they discuss will have BYU in the top 10 after this game. So,
Sure.
have you seen those out, like their rankings next to the BCS and how similar it is?
Yeah, I've seen it.
It makes it look like they just put it in a computer and then pretend to talk about it, so that
They 100% do.
I do wish that we could get you make your pick, and then I've got a couple other things to talk about.
I just wish, and we will never get this because it's just not how that works. I get it. It was like an open forum. Their meetings.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
like
say.
if I could just tune
Watch
into
the
the
live
live stream
stream.
of their meeting,
It would be electric.
that'd be really fun. Obviously, once again, that'll never happen.
I wonder why it'll never happen. It's almost like they don't talk about anything in there.
I'm sure they do. I actually don't believe that they just follow a model. But I do think that they don't want to do that because that probably would expose how stupid some of the things they say are in there. Because I say
Like
stupid
Alabama's
things sometimes, too.
close win over Auburn, and how that was, them going for it on 4th down was
Well,
enough to propel them over
It
Notre
was
Dame.
also a rivalry game, so that's why they got
Yeah.
the bump over Notre Dame, who plays Stanford every single year.
Yeah, but it's not close, so it's not a rivalry game.
It is literally a rivalry game.
If it's not close, it's not. That's how it works, apparently.
I think it's that one was just a theme with them. A team keeps losing, and then they bump that team down a lot, and then they're like, "Oh, I think we overcorrected, and now we're going to push them back up." Similar with what happened with Miami. Miami lost their second game. Oh wow, they're way down to 18.
Yeah.
and then they jump way back up, which is why I'm hoping A&M
They
finds their way back
should
to
do
6.
that. There's just no way.
Um,
Or back to 5.
I'm just happy with 6 at this point, dog.
Aren't they 6 right now?
No, we're 7.
Oh, that's Schubert.
So we right now we get
That's
Notre
tough.
Dame at home instead of a group of 5 or Virginia.
Tough.
As Hunter Yurchek would say, 6-7.
Yeah.
He, make your pick.
I'm gonna make my pick. I'm gonna take Texas Tech. I don't think it'll be a blowout in terms of 20 plus again, but I could see a 2-touchdown win, a 17-point win for Texas Tech. I just think once again, I said it earlier, BYU's really gonna struggle to score, and then once they get down, they're gonna have to press to try and score at some point, and I don't see that working out for them. And Texas Tech will be able to just slowly keep pulling away.
Yeah, I have 2 questions that I meant to ask before we picked, and then Trail pulled up in the comments making his pick, so we went ahead and picked. First question, if Baron Morton goes down and Jacob Rodriguez comes in at quarterback and leads the win, does he win the Heisman?
If they win by 75.
Wow, 70's not enough. He throws 8 passing touchdowns as a linebacker.
No, because anyone can have a game like that.
It's just one game. We look
Yeah,
at the
just
whole-
one. It's just
we-
one
we
game
look
from a
at the whole
linebacker.
body of work.
Yeah, one of the best linebackers in the
Oh, yeah.
country, and then he comes in and plays quarterback against
Sam
a top 10
Darnold
team.
threw 4 picks in a game. That doesn't mean Sam Darnold's going to throw 4 picks every single game.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, that's my joking question. And then my actual question is, I will be watching the refereeing for this game closely. Big 12 has a lot at stake here. BYU wins, and they get 2 teams in the playoff. Texas Tech wins, they get 1 game in the playoffs.
I'm with this theory. I'm all for some referee theories.
Yeah, I'm
It's
not.
gonna get brought up again later.
Okay. Well, all that
Okay.
that's just to say that the refereeing is going to have to be very clean, and or lean to Texas Tech. If it leans Texas Tech, it is what it is. But if it leans BYU, the accusations will fly.
Not for me.
You don't think it'll really?
Well, he's a BYU guy. He's not gonna be happy if the refereeing leads
You saw
Texas
how I
Tech
felt
way.
after the State Arkansas game. So
That is true. I guess I'm just more objective when it comes to fan, because even I could tell you that State Arkansas refereeing was atrocious.
So it's just SEC refs,
Yeah.
man.
that is also
Yeah.
true.
But anyway, I'll be watching the refereeing on Saturday closely to see how it goes. Does it lean one way or the other? And if it leans BYU's way, what's the media's reaction to that? Is it ignored? What are the takes? That'll be interesting. I'm all for games being not all for. I'm all for the conspiracy theory that games are rigged, because I watch some games and it does not feel like a fair fight when it comes to the refereeing. So all that to say, we can move on. Anything
Joe
else?
Tessitore
Yes,
and
we
Jesse
can.
Palmer on the call for this game.
Solid group.
I
We've
wonder
got-
which way Joe Tessitore will lean, because he is an outright Aggie.
He'll probably lean BYU's
Yeah,
way.
it
I
helps
still have never heard Gigum louder than the way he said it in the Missouri game.
Okay, well, there was nothing to cheer about for
It's
Missouri.
the loudest
man.
call he's ever given.
He got excited. I'm not gonna hate on that guy. Where are we going next?
Well, that's because he was cheering for your team.
I've had other people
If
cheer
he
for my
said,
team, and I hate it.
Then you would be mad, because if he did that and
His touchdown call was just
I might mute my
KC
mic and yell how loud he said it.
says Gig'em.
wait, what'd you say?
I might mute my mic and yell how loud he said it.
And we'll pick it up
in
on
their end.
Jack and behind my.
He literally, when I forgot if it was either Casey Concepcion.
It was KC says Gig'em. Was that not the call?
No. Casey says something else. I
Was
remember
it
I mentioned
KC
that.
says TD
Yes.
Gig'em?
I don't remember. I don't think he said Gig'em after that call, but he definitely said Gig'em at one point. And he literally was like,
Well, you just want to make sure the
I
mic
have no
picked
idea
it
if that
up.
picked it up on the
You
mic.
just want to make sure the mic picked it
Yeah.
up.
I don't think that's how that works.
That's not
I think
how
so.
that.
I think he wanted to be sure that the stadium microphones could pick him up. He wanted to be heard in the crowd.
So loud.
We should have looked to see. We should have gotten a pregame camera to see if he was doing the back and forth.
Oh. Good question.
I mean, we might
question.
need cams on him in pregame to be sure he's not doing whatever they do.
Pass it back.
Yeah, I don't know
Well, Texas Tech how do they do their pistol? I don't even remember.
that.
It's just
Okay.
this, I think.
Well, I know Oklahoma State has a different pistol.
This
Oh,
doesn't seem right. I think they got to be that.
do Texas
Okay.
Tech and Oklahoma State both do pistols?
Yeah, but they have different pistol hand.
Like one's got like
Symbols.
a Glock and one has like a I don't know.
It's
I don't
the
know
same
any other
pistol,
name.
I'm pretty sure.
But it's just like how they hold it is different.
Yes, how they do the signal is
And
different.
then Louisville,
Gotcha.
this is Louisville, right? Because it's like the L. Am I making that up?
I
That'd be
think.
news to me.
Okay.
but I
Let's
I don't know.
hold on. Let's fact check it real quick. Louisville hand signal.
I didn't know they had a hand signal. To be honest,
I could be making it up.
I'd be surprised, honestly. But I know for a fact
Yeah,
Oklahoma
forming an L
State.
shape with the right hand.
Let's
and
see if we've got. I mean, yeah, there's I don't.
Hashtag Card Nation.
Yeah, there it is. Hashtag Card Nation. Yeah. So Louisville does that,
Interesting.
which
Okay.
which makes sense. I mean, that's not a bad. I mean, it's because they're L.
It's your only option,
Yeah.
realistically.
I mean, unless you want to do that, but then you're just holding up an L. Like this
Yeah.
is this is cool. Yeah. Are you looking up Oklahoma State versus Texas Tech? I feel like the Red Raiders are like out to the side.
Oh, okay, so they just do
It is
this.
just one.
Who
Hmm.
Texas Tech.
is this?
They just do this.
Guns up.
Yeah.
Yes. But as Jim and I said, no, okay, Jim and I spelled it right. I swear Jim and I didn't spell it right the first time. I swear it said gums up.
They're just over like
Yeah.
got the gums out.
Gums up. Theirs is the same.
Oklahoma
Huh.
State, Texas Tech is the same.
What a development this is.
Yeah. Same school. Wow.
Yeah, it's the same.
And I mean that really just adds
gotta get
credibility
some
to
diversity.
JP's theory that Oklahoma State's pitch is they could be the next Texas Tech.
Correct.
I mean, they were like, what's the difference?
Do
Both
we
in the
see-
Big 12, they both do this.
Do we see Drew Mestamaker in Cowboy gear next season?
Yeah. They don't have a quarterback, so
Do we see Caleb Hawkins in Cowboy gear next season?
I hope not.
Fair.
Who's Caleb Hawkins?
Their true freshman running back.
Ah,
Sounds like
Harris
a Hill
said
State.
Kentucky turned the L down. The fans do at least. Oh, okay, that's kind of sick. When you win, which they haven't done in a couple years. But all right, do we want to move on
I
to?
think they won 2 years ago.
But not last year, right? So
I
Not
wouldn't
this
know.
year.
this year that I thought they lost last. I thought Louisville won last year.
I don't think so. I thought Louisville was pretty good, and then they lost.
Oh, maybe that's it.
Harris is our Kentucky fan. He would
Yeah,
know.
he can
yeah,
tell us.
Harris, you
But
tell
we can go on to Sanders' team here.
I agree.
my team.
Yeah.
Yes.
North Texas.
No.
You can stop playing dumb.
Well, that's the 11. I thought we would go to the 11 a.m. game.
That's not.
This is
11
a
a.m.
Friday
It's
night
a
game.
Friday
Oh,
night
sorry.
kick.
I thought we'd go to the Friday night game and go in.
Okay,
order.
we can delay your team. That's fine.
I understand if you want to talk about them like last or something like that. I guess that makes sense.
I don't have much to say on that game either. I was going to leave the floor to you.
To me,
Yeah. You
Sure.
got 20 minutes on your team, probably.
You have a lot of exposition.
I'll just bark for 20 minutes.
Friday night, the American conference championship game is played, and this essentially is a play-in game for the playoffs. Whichever team wins this, you win the American. The way the current playoff rankings are, you're going to be either the fourth highest conference champion or the fifth highest conference champion ranked, that is, and either way you get in. So this truly is win and you're in. North Texas versus Tulane. North Texas favored by 2.5. Y'all's thoughts on this game?
Yeah, did you mention it was at Tulane?
I did not.
Okay, this is not a neutral site game. The American is like Conference USA and the Sun Belt, but not the MAC, and the Mountain West. So those four conferences in the group of five play their home games or their conference championship games at the home team who is the highest seed. And so Tulane is technically the highest seed, and so they will host North Texas. And so you would think North Texas minus 2.5, if it was a neutral site game, that's kind of substantial. But actually, it would be nearly 5.5 points on a neutral site. But this game being played at Tulane at night, the spread is only 2.5. That is kind of the difference between these two teams. Yet the committee, College Football Playoff, has continued to rank North Texas behind Tulane. In fact, North Texas finally sneaked into the rankings this week for the first time, if I'm not mistaken. North Texas has the number one offense in the country from a yards perspective, second overall passing, and the number one scoring. They average 46.8 points per game. They pass for 324, and they total yards is 510. Drew Mestamaker, future Oklahoma State Cowboy, as their head coach, has taken the Oklahoma State job already, as well as John Sumrall, who has taken the Florida job from Tulane. You got two coaches who have been distracted the past 2 weeks. coming into this game. John Summerall, I would argue, more distracted. He was in Florida gear on Monday, if I'm not mistaken. Full-on Florida gear, filming Florida promos as well. I don't know if you saw the one where he picked up the phone out of the helmet. Do you guys actually watch? You
No.
guys need to watch it. It was
Okay.
very, very cringy. Very cringy.
Love good cringy
On
videos.
people of
Scale of Devon Achan Instagram caption to Brian Kelly grinding on recruit. Where are we?
I think we would, like, if you were to say Devon Achan's caption is conservative and Brian Kelly is liberal, then I would say it's moderate, but it leans liberal.
So you're moderate left, essentially.
Correct.
Okay, I'm there.
I love how we went from like aura versus cringe to politics. Like,
I think that's the best way to describe what occurred. But Summerall's been distracted with that all week. He had that on Monday, and that was also obviously a very cringy moment. This is completely off topic, but it is funny to see how the social media game for Ryan Silverfield at Arkansas versus John Summerall at Tulane, or at Florida, I should say, has been completely different. Like, Ryan Silverfield's social media from the team itself has actually been really good. The comments are just piss poor because they hate the hire. For John Summerall, it has been terrible social media, but people still like the hire.
Yeah.
They just think the social media has
It's
been cringe. All that being said, they got to refocus. Tulane's got to refocus for this game and rise up for this game. It's a playoff berth on the line. Summerall has had some pretty good teams at Tulane, but this team led by Jake Retzlaff, the former BYU quarterback, who, of course, had premarital sex, and that is why he is no longer the Cougars quarterback, and that is why he's the Tulane quarterback.
I love how you said he of course had, like, not just like
Because he's a really bad person. He's a sinner. Look, we're all sinners. But
the more and more BY show we get, the more and more religious we get. This is crazy.
I mean, that's basically what they told him.
that is
When they
literally
kicked
what
him
he
out.
told him. That's why they kicked him out. He's had a fine season this year, 14 touchdowns, 6 through the air, but he's really been dangerous on the ground. He has 14 rushing touchdowns, which leads the Tulane Green Wave. On the North Texas side, they're really a two-man attack. Their quarterback, Mestemaker, will throw the ball all around, and then Caleb Hawkins, the true freshman running back, has 23 rushing touchdowns on the year. He's been electric. Now, I will say, a fair amount of those touchdowns happen with goal to go, and so that is where he gets a lot of those what fantasy football players will say Mickey Mouse touchdowns. Josh Jacobs touchdowns is the best translation for that. Jalen Hurts tush-push touchdowns.
Yeah.
That being said, Caleb Hawkins is really, really dynamic and can be really he can have those cap-busting plays on the ground, and they're going to need those kinds of plays in this kind of game against Tulane. I think key to the game is, I'm going to be really point blank, Tulane's got to outscore the best offense in the country, North Texas.
Good luck.
And I wish them good luck. I agree.
Yeah.
They're going to need that home crowd to play some kind of factor. I think North Texas is clearly the more focused team, and the more they feel like they have more to gain from this game than Tulane. It feels that way, especially with the way their head coach has been acting in recent days. North Texas, they know they feel slighted just as much as like JMU has felt slighted. They feel like they should have been ranked for multiple weeks as well. And now they get a chance to go on the road and make a huge statement on ABC on Friday night. It's the only game that's going to be on. There's no NFL that's on, so everyone's going to be watching this game that's watching football. And they're going to have something that they want to prove. They want to show. And I think they're going to play with a ton of fire. But before I pick, y'all got any keys to this one?
Yeah, I want to talk about the pressure that the coaches are under, because there's so much more to it than a normal G5 Conference Championship matchup. Like, just for the Mountain West, for example, if the Mountain West winner was going to go to the playoffs, which, first of all, as Trail is saying in the chat, James Madison's best G5 team, it's dumb that these two teams are certainly going to go to the playoffs, whoever the winner is, when the best G5 team, JMU, stands a chance of being on the outside looking in. Really, really sad to see that play out the way it has. But as far as the coaches go and the pressure they're under, I wonder, is there more pressure on them to win, or is there pressure on them to lose? Right. So there's a couple of ways that this could play out, or this could be playing out in offices of these guys. The one way is that their prospective jobs or their future jobs, Florida and Oklahoma State, are trying to pull them away. Say, hey, like I know you can coach the playoffs if you make it, but we need you for this. We need you for recruiting. We need you for offseason. We need you for portal. Like trying to pull these guys away. And is there some hints of we don't want you to win, but then also are they under pressure from their current teams, which I'm sure they are, to win? And is there even pressure from like Oklahoma State fans for the North Texas coach to win? I can't remember his name. Or is there pressure from Florida fans for Summerall to win? Because if you lose this game and you get blown out, how much does that impact your future fan base as well as your current fan base? That's something would be interested to talk about, is like, if a coach loses this game, does a way you performed after you sign your new contract impact perspective of new fans and new recruits and new administration?
Honestly, I think they're Jay chillin'. It almost feels like a win-win. I get they have a ton to do right now because you're basically working 2 jobs. But say you're North Texas's coach, you lose. Dang, that sucks. I get to go start my new job. I don't think Oklahoma State fans are going to care too much if you lose this game.
Yeah.
They're really excited about you. You immediately get to be like, hey, look who I'm bringing with me. We just had the highest scoring offense in the country this season. I'm bringing that to Oklahoma State. You win, you get to go to the College Football Playoff for the first time in North Texas history. Those fans love you. You get to be with this team that clearly you love and means a lot to you. And then you kind of have a rooting contingent with Oklahoma State as well. And similar for John Summerall, it almost feels like a win-win to me of like, I win, I get to coach in the playoffs. I lose, and I get to start my new job.
Yeah, I just wonder if a loss here could be perceived as like starting your new job on the wrong foot. Or is it, I mean, I get that they aren't the same place, but it is almost like your first act as the new head coach at Oklahoma State or Florida is losing a G5 championship.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there will be some fans, especially Florida fans, that feel like that, but I think it'll be a small minority.
Yeah,
in that
especially
sense.
given the Sunbelt Billy stuff and the standards they have and how much they've been hurt. That is a great point about how, yeah, I would be interested to see how they handle it.
I think really them losing, most Florida fans would actually be happy about it because they would go, great, now he's on campus and now he's recruiting for us and just working solely for us. So, sucks he lost, but not really.
Did y'all see
Hooray.
Summerall said that he wasn't going to try and bring Tulane's recruiting class with him?
Yeah.
How do you think, does that piss off players? So, like, I don't know if it's just a recruiting class or if it's portal guys, but if he gets a I am better than thou vibe, which some people took that, like, I'm not bringing Tulane's recruiting class because I can do better at Florida. If he's got that same approach to, even if it's just subtle, with the players, is that a problem?
How easy is it for him to have that recruiting class go to Tulane and then just take them in the spring portal window?
Yeah, it's because also thing too of like if he's like I'm not gonna bring that to Tulane, but then one of those better recruits is like, hey coach, I want to come with you. I'm sure he's gonna be like, I'm not gonna tell you no.
Yeah.
I'm just not gonna like actively recruit them.
It feels a little bit of a safe face kind of thing.
Okay.
Like Kiffin. Now Kiffin was lying, and Summerall might be lying a little bit here too. But Kiffin saying, "Oh, I tried and I wanted to coach the team." It doesn't feel that way. And also, he was saying that, "Oh, the players wanted me to stay as well."
He definitely wanted to coach the team. That's what he lied about. Is the players clearly were done with him at the end.
I think, yeah, Summerall could very easily just get those guys in the spring portal, and also those guys can make the decision themselves as well. Now they can't. It'd be hard for them to make that decision if Summerall and Florida isn't offering them a scholarship, and that is also a really big conflict of interest of him still coaching the team. But he's also the Florida head coach right now. Can he offer them a scholarship as the Florida head coach while he's still technically the Tulane head coach? I don't know how the hell that works. That's really weird.
I'm sure it would
and
be
wonky
offered by
for
like an
me.
assistant coach or something.
Maybe.
He probably just won't touch it until they lose.
Which is possible. At least you're able to do that in the college basketball video game that I play. Your assistant coach can offer scholarships. In fact, sometimes you do that because you as a head coach don't have good charisma, and your assistant coach does. That's off topic. I think for the head coaches and the pressure, I think it's two different scenarios. Summerall in Florida, I think they want him there as quick as possible. I agree with you, Jack, because that's only going to help them recruiting wise and them getting back in on the right foot as quickly as possible because they want to be contenders. Oklahoma State wants to be the next Texas Tech, and that's kind of their selling point. But for Eric Morris, North Texas's head coach, it may end up helping his job at Oklahoma State more, especially in this coming transfer portal window, winning this game. If Old Piss doesn't move, that's the 6 versus 11, and North Texas hasn't played Old Piss. Old Piss blew out Tulane
It's
already
probably
this
not
year.
the 6 versus 11 if UVA wins,
You're right.
but there's a world they could be 11.
They could be 11, or Old Piss could somehow move up to 5. Who knows?
If Texas Tech loses to BYU, BYU could drop.
Sure.
Yeah. That being said, I think if they potentially get the opportunity to go play at Old Piss, you have an opportunity to go shock or have a really competitive playoff game. And I think that's only going to help you when you go to Oklahoma State and you can say, look what I did at North Texas. Sanders, do you know the North Texas mascot? What their
The green machine.
The mean
Mean
green.
Green. Okay.
Exactly. And you do a college football pod. No one really knows what their mascot is. And so that is a selling point. Look at what I did for North Texas. Look what we could potentially do here at Oklahoma State. So I think it helps him more to win this game and then be competitive in the playoff. Somehow I think you would see him getting more benefit out of losing this game and just getting straight to Florida.
Sure.
Because Florida is the brand that sells itself. Oklahoma State isn't the brand that Florida is. So you didn't have to sell that brand as much, the difference there. In terms of picking this game, North Texas is favored by 2.5. Again, this is at Tulane. I think North Texas outscores Tulane. I think Tulane's distracted from the head coaching perspective. I don't think the team is. I do want to reiterate that. But also, when given the opportunity, which I'm pretty sure this is our first Tulane game of the year,
It is.
in the words of Bryce Harper, when given the opportunity to pick against Jake Retzlaff, former BYU quarterback, because he betrayed us, I'm going to take that opportunity and take North Texas to win and cover.
Did he betray us, or did we betray him by kicking him off the team? Are you saying that him
No,
having
he betrayed us.
sex was him betraying us?
He betrayed us because
He broke the law.
there were clear expectations that he did not meet. Whether you think those
Yep.
expectations are fair or not, he
Yep.
knew them,
Preach.
and he went out. He went out of his way
Yep.
to break them, and so that's on him. That's a betrayal. Also, talk about, you said Tulane's probably locked in. He clearly isn't. He's focused on a lot of off the field stuff.
That's a great point.
Back to his BYU days.
Hard to argue with that.
So
Make
your pick,
I will
Sanders.
also pick North Texas to cover, and I will be watching to see how guys play. Are any guys playing like it's an interview for future for the portal to follow their head coach? I'll be interested to see if any guys are above and beyond. Not that football players typically play hard, they hit hard. That's how football works. But are some guys going above and beyond?
That's a fair point.
So I will go North Texas to cover, and I'll be watching that with great interest.
yeah, I'm gonna take North Texas as well. I feel very comfortable taking the team that almost always scores an insane amount of points to end up winning this game.
Yeah.
Drew Mestamaker, Caleb Hawkins, Wyatt Young at receiver, 1,200 receiving yards. I'm just going to back those boys. So give me North Texas. We can move on.
Cool. I need to go blow my nose real quick because
Do it.
I have to do it outside because the mics pick it up.
Crazy. He's got a loud nose, I guess. I agree. Jackson, Cromie, the puts, whoever. Old Piss being at 6 is a crime. I don't fully understand it. It is what it is. At the same time, but I really thought they would drop. To be honest, really, really did.
Yeah, I'm shocked that they moved up. Now they moved up because A&M dropped below them, but still, that's still shocking.
It's really like the committee had such an easy week on their hands, to be honest, because you could have left basically everything the same and then dropped A&M to 6. and I don't think anyone would have been up in arms except the people that were already up in arms in terms of all the Miami fans were still going to be upset, and the Texas fans were going to be upset. But you can't, and maybe Vandy fans as well, but you can't avoid that. But then to do what you did and you randomly flip Alabama and Notre Dame again, whether you think it's right or wrong, the reasoning was terrible they gave, and then to move Ole Miss up a spot, you just unnecessarily created so much controversy
And I
among
don't
the fans.
I don't understand the argument for Ole Miss, even if they still had Kiffin over A&M. Like, they don't have a quote-unquote better resume. They have technically a win over the number 4 team in LSU at home, and then the win over OU, which I would then understand why they are above OU if we're going to make that argument. But if we go to A&M, they have a win at Notre Dame, which the committee drools over Notre Dame, clearly.
Correct.
A&M has also beaten LSU, I'd argue, in a tougher environment before Brian Kelly in Death Valley. They've also beaten a ranked Missouri, and their one loss is a rivalry game in Texas.
Which apparently matters a lot if
Which
it's a rivalry game.
If you lose, it's not that big of a deal, but if you win, it matters a lot. So
Sure.
I don't understand the reaction there, and maybe it is, like Jack was saying earlier, just an overreaction, and they fix it this week. They better. Because I don't understand the Ole Miss over Texas A&M, even if you were doing the Sanders argument of resume only.
Yeah. Do you want me to answer Trail, or do you want to?
I was going to do it.
You got
We
it.
are not Mormon. By us, we mean simply the BYU football team that we have adopted this season.
Correct.
Especially JP, because we just like the team.
Yeah.
And we
And
like
the-
Satake
and the fans
Bear
have-
Bachmeyer. And the BYU fan base has kind of adopted us. Some of our most popular videos are BYU videos, so we've kind of leaned into that.
Yeah.
Is simply why.
The comments have been super fun. I've interacted with them on YouTube, on TikTok, basically everywhere, and they've all been super nice, and it's been awesome. So we do like the BYU football team, and we like the BYU fan base, but none of us are Mormon. But we do. It's been awesome. It's been probably my favorite part of the podcast so far is adopting BYU, and then feeling like, I don't know, it's been the biggest part of our show. Outperforming. We're all state guys, so we are a state podcast. Our BYU videos pretty regularly outperform our state videos. So
Our own fan base can't support us well enough. And that being said, Trail, if you are Mormon and we say something offensive to Mormons, we mean no harm.
yeah,
Uh,
we make fun of ourselves as much as we make fun of anybody else.
Well,
That's
it's all
kind of the goal.
jokes.
Yeah,
Since none of us are Mormon, we don't know the culture very well.
yeah, very true. Do we want to move on to our next game?
Your game.
Your team.
Your team plays.
What
Would
if
you
I
like
just-
to do the intro for your team?
Oh, it
Sanders?
works well. They're over there on your side.
Yeah. They're
Uh,
right below
Yeah,
you.
right.
That's
there.
amazing.
How about you do the intro since
Works
you do
well
the
for me,
intro
too.
for every video?
I guess, yeah. We actually
What if I
probably shouldn't
just
let
don't
you do
speak?
it. We probably
What if
shouldn't
I
let you
don't
do it.
speak for the entire segment? Is it still my team?
Yeah.
Yes, because you're going to pick Bama at the end of this. And if you don't, you're just picking with me so you don't lose any ground on me.
So I can't win. What if I just don't pick? What if I just take a loss?
That would hurt you in terms of your quest to win the college
Yeah,
football
that's
pick.
What
a
if-
really bold move.
What if I do that to try and cleanse myself of this Alabama accusation that is my team?
It
doesn't,
seems-
because you're just doing that to try and cleanse yourself. It's
it
not
just,
a.
it
It's
feels
not a
chicken
real.
too. I won't lie.
Feels chicken.
Yes.
We're not letting you out of this. Is basically what we're saying.
See,
and
Do y'all
theme
know
with
about-
technical foul? It feels chicken.
do, do y'all know about Hercules and like the stuff he had to do, the trials he had to go through to like get that girl to marry him or whatever?
Yeah.
What trials do I have to go through so that I can finally stop being accused of being an Alabama fan?
Me and JP may have to convene on that and get back to you.
Yeah.
It's a
but
good question. I haven't given any.
there's a
thought
lot
into
to
it
purge
before.
by saying you said roll tide. That's pretty damning.
Yeah. You know, it's fine. We don't have to talk about the circumstances. Y'all never talk about those when you throw around your accusations, but it's fine. It's cool.
No circumstances give any reason for that.
I agree.
Well, it's easy to agree when you've never been in those circumstances.
I have been in those circumstances.
No, you haven't. You have not
I mean,
been.
He basically was there 3 weeks
Many
ago.
times.
No, it is not the same thing, JP.
I've been in those circumstances many times.
Really?
Those exact circumstances.
Where your girlfriend and her whole family are telling you to say roll tide.
No,
All
at
right,
an Alabama
cool.
game. But outside of an Alabama game, I have 100%
Right. So you
been in those
never had someone give
circumstances.
you a $500 ticket to the biggest game of the year. It's a close game with kind of a almost a rival. It's Georgia, Alabama. They are the matchups have created a rivalry.
Look, I've
Um,
spent $500 on Bama tickets.
Yeah, but you never been.
and
But so they were
still
your
cheered
tickets,
for
and
the
so
team
you
that-
were welcome to not say Roll Tide.
I think you
But-
were welcome to not say Roll Tide, even though he gave you the ticket.
no.
You gotta
No.
you gotta stand on principle
This was like my second time meeting the family.
and realize that if he expected you to say Roll Tide simply because he bought you a ticket, well, you didn't want to be in that family anyway.
I think it's a learning
True
point.
now.
Learning point going forward.
It
and
is.
Two,
Never dating an Alabama girl
you
again.
shouldn't. No, I disagree with that, and I know people who will as well.
Yeah, I do too. I know 2 people marrying Alabama girls. I guess.
So,
Well, 2 and then one who's dating one.
it's just a learning point to don't mold yourself to what they are going to like.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you start dating a really country girl, you're gonna start coming around in a cowboy hat and cowboy
Yo.
boots. Like, I don't know.
Jackson said I set the precedent that I can be bought.
That's a great
and
point.
I can. Once again, we can go back to the discussion we had on here 2 months ago where Jack and JP both said they would not say hook 'em or hottie toddy for like $10 million.
Correct.
That,
All right, we can
that
move on.
kills
we're,
me
we're,
every time you.
we're
oh,
recycling old conversations.
We are
let's
because
get
they
to
need
the,
to be readdressed because y'all are psychopaths.
Let's get to the Georgia versus Sanders matchup. Georgia versus Alabama, a matchup that we can't escape from in the SEC and as SEC fans, I dare say. And I'm not mad at it because this matchup has just brought cinema time and time again. It's been the 2 stalwarts of the SEC for the past little while.
See, I think it's either 11 out of 12 or 12 out of 13 of the last 13 or 12 SEC champs have been one of these 2 schools besides probably the greatest college football team of all time in 2019 LSU.
Correct. And we're back at it again. They matched up earlier this season and gave us another great edition of this kind of, as Sanders put it, situational rivalry. They played so much recently, and typically when they match up, the stakes are so high that it's kind of a new age rivalry in that sense. And Bama won the first edition. Got off hot start in the first half, got a big lead, and managed to hold on as Georgia tried to fight back. Didn't score in the second half, but it didn't matter. They won 24-21, I believe, was the final score. And so now they meet up again, neutral site. It's Atlanta, so maybe not even really. It may be pro-Georgia crowd. But Georgia's favored by 2.5. Y'all's thoughts on this game?
It may be 60-40 at most.
I'd
But
imagine Bama fans
I
travel.
think Bama fans are going to show up for that game. It's only 2.5, 3 hours away from Tuscaloosa and not very far across the state line if you just live on the state line for Bama, Georgia. I guess to talk about this game, there are 3 things I think I would like to talk about at least. That is overall this season, the history of this game, and then the history of this game this year. For overall, it is another elite rushing defense versus piss poor rushing offense game where Bama, 104th in the country, faces Georgia, who's number 6 in the country, giving up just 86 yards on the ground per game. Now, if Bama, of course, can flip that kind of script, it is where something like that matters. When they were able to run for 158 on Auburn, they were able to win that game because they were able to score more points than Auburn. But when they only ran for 80 against OU and they were forced to drop back many, many times, I think Ty Simpson threw over 40 times in that game, it leads to sacks, it leads to strip fumbles, it leads to picks. And that could be a potential difference in this game, while people have argued for many weeks that this kind of stat profile versus each other means nothing. I disagree. It is proven in the pudding that it does matter. And it may matter in this game if Alabama cannot run the ball. Now, I don't expect them to have Jam Miller. They don't expect to have Jam Miller either. There's another argument on the other side for Georgia, which I'll get into in a little bit. Bama offensively, I think for this is, again, on that. Bama offensively has a max of just 30 points scored in SEC play so far this season. They're averaging just 26 points per game in SEC play. Why? Well, with no run game to lean on, you can be inconsistent. An incomplete pass will result in 0 yards, but a bad run play results in 2 yards. Every time you drop back to pass as well, you give the other team a chance to sack you, and that's where Simpson has been in a lot of trouble in a lot of games so far this year. So translation for this game, Bama has to avoid a Georgia shootout where they need to throw the ball a ton. You cannot let a bad Georgia front as well, who has, I think it's nearly just as many sacks as they just barely hit double-digit sacks so far this year. You can't let this bad Georgia front, compared to their historical Georgia fronts, make big plays in this game. And so I think they do need to be able to run the ball with a little bit of success with Daniel Hill without Jam Miller. They also potentially offensively may not have Josh Cuevas in this game. He is their safety valve, Ty Simpson's safety valve. He loves to target Jeremy Bernard, but if he can't find Jeremy Bernard, he will hit Josh Cuevas. And Josh Cuevas can make 7-yard gains out of a 2-yard completion, and that is huge for this Bama offense in terms of scoring points. On the other side, for Georgia, offensively, they're averaging 33 points per game in SEC play. That is with the 41st best offense in the country from a yards per game perspective, and they're still scoring 33 points per game. They've been incredibly efficient, and what they've been really, really good at is having the long, tantalizing drives, holding the ball for 4.5, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes, and then scoring a touchdown at the very end of it. They have been incredibly efficient. Now, they will be without, more than likely, Mike Bobo, son of Drew Bobo, their offensive coordinator, who is Georgia's starting center. That could have problems in this game. If you don't have your starting center, of course, when you go under center a ton, that's a new relationship of hand to butt. But also when you're snapping the ball in shotgun, that's a new relationship as well. Centers, if you don't know, centers snap the ball differently, just like quarterbacks throw the ball differently. Now, it's a very, very marginal difference because the ball is only flying 3 yards, but it can make a difference when the bright lights are on, when you're in a big moment and in a big series. One bad snap can change the entire game. And so if they don't have Mike Bobo, I should say, then it could be a problem. If they didn't have Drew Bobo, would they actually be pretty happy, I'd argue. Even with the offense that they've had this season, they hate Drew Bobo still.
Is it flip?
I
Is
believe
Mike
it's
Bobo
Mike Bobo's
the OC and Drew
is
Bobo's the
son.
kid?
Then, yes, flip
Okay.
it. Sorry.
So you're saying if they didn't have the OC but they had the son, would Georgia fans be happy?
There's a
Yes,
good chance they
even
would be.
with
Yes.
scoring 33 points per game in SEC play so far this year. Now, to the other two, historically in this series, as I profiled in the first time we talked about this game, the story of the series has been quarterback play for really the entire year. If you go back all the way to Tua saving the day in the national championship, he outplayed Jake Fromm in the second half. The very next year, Jalen Hurts did the exact same thing in the exact same building where Tua gets hurt. Jalen Hurts comes in. He outplayed Fromm down the stretch. And then the COVID game, Mac Jones outplayed Stetson Bennett. Bryce Young outplayed Stetson Bennett in the SEC championship the next year. But in the rematch in the national championship, Stetson outplayed Bryce Young. Georgia's lone win in this series for a while with Kirby Smart. Jalen Milroe, for the next 2 years, would outplay Carson Beck in the SEC championship and then in Tuscaloosa. And then this year, Ty Simpson outplayed Gunnar Stockton. Ty Simpson threw for 276 yards. He threw for 276. He had 3 total touchdowns, 2 through the air and 1 on the ground. And for Gunnar Stockton, it was really kind of his worst game of the entire year outside of the Georgia Tech game last week, where he had just 152 total yards and 1 touchdown. Going back to that last game, Georgia ran for 227 on the ground last time. I agree with myself that similar success will only help them in this game. Of course, if you run for 220, it's only going to help. But really, I wonder if we will see regression to the mean. Bama in that game in Sanford Stadium between the hedges was 13 for 19 on third down. 13 for 19. Georgia was just 2 for 8. Bama owned the time of possession because of it, 35-25. It was the only time of possession this year that Georgia lost. Georgia has had an 8-minute-plus time of possession edge in 6 of the 8 SEC games this year. And, of course, they've won 11 out of 12. Their only one that they have lost to Bama between the hedges. Now, Bama has nearly the same stat profile. They are the 9th-ranked average time of possession averaging 33 minutes to 28 minutes, a 5-minute advantage. Georgia is 5th in the country. That is a huge story. I think that's a huge potential padlock stat to this game is time of possession. Who owns the ball more in this game, I think, ends up winning this game. That's not really a big take, but it is a potential padlock stat in this game. For Bama, their defense is quietly, and I don't even know if I can say quietly anymore. They've been elite for much of the year. They are 12th in the country in total yards, and since the Florida State game, the most points they've given up this season is just 24, and so that could be a potential problem for Georgia's offense. Any takeaways for y'all?
Yeah. Sorry, I hadn't spoken in a while, so I had to clear my throat. So you talked about Georgia's elite run defense versus Alabama's bad rushing game. Is that right? Something Josh Bate talked about for the Oklahoma-Alabama preview was that same elite Oklahoma rush defense versus the bad Alabama offense. And I think that matchup only benefits specifically Georgia if the secondary is able to take advantage of that, right? So it doesn't help you. So Alabama has a bad running offense. If Georgia shuts that down and Alabama has a bad run offense that day, that's what they're used to playing with, and they've overcome it in other games. It only really matters if Georgia's secondary is able to take advantage of it, and they're able to drop those guys and force Ty Simpson to miss guys because it's tight coverage, throw interceptions, stuff like that. Alabama having a bad rushing day because Georgia's rush defense is great is not really, that in itself, isolated, is not going to be a game changer in my opinion, because it's what Alabama's had to deal with all season. It's when Ty Simpson throwing into double coverage or dropping linebackers, that's when it really becomes more of an issue, is if the rest of the secondary can take advantage of the defensive line holding up well against that rush offense. That's where I think that the effect, it really creates more of an advantage for Georgia.
I think they have that chance. The Georgia secondary is where they're better. They're better than their front. And OU did take advantage of it.
No,
fully.
for sure.
So that's a great point, though, that Georgia still has to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Even if Bama has a poor rushing day. But I think it's going to be a bad recipe against Kirby Smart and that defense. If Ty Simpson has to drop back 40-plus times, I don't think that goes well for him. It was starting to go bad in that Auburn game, especially in the second half.
It went bad towards the back end of that Georgia game, really. I mean, they scored no second-half points. The defense just managed to hold on, and they managed to hold on. But you could kind of see the crack starting to show because they couldn't run the ball, and so much was on Ty. The windows and easy throws stopped being there. And that kind of it ties in nicely to my biggest point on the Alabama side, and it's simply Ty Simpson has been the guy for you all year long. He has to be the guy again. He has to make plays. Think about his touchdown pass to Horton in the Auburn game where there's like 3 guys in his face, and he floats it, and it looks like he's just kind of throwing it away, and then all of a sudden, oh, just kidding, it's to the back of the end zone to Horton. He has to make plays like that. He has done all season. I can't think of another quarterback in the country I'd rather have in this situation than Ty Simpson for Alabama. I'm not saying he's the best in the country, but like we've just seen him deliver in this offense time and time again, and he's handled the weight of the offense so well. And so it sucks to have to ask him to do it again. But I think you're going to have to ask him to do it again and play another close to perfect game.
Do you have any concerns? So Georgia's offense all year long has been surprisingly dynamic. Gunnar Stockton has really developed in year 3 as a junior, taking over the reins from Carson Beck. And that's been awesome to see. But last week, they beat Georgia Tech 16-9. They scored only 16 points in a rivalry, and that's with arguably home field advantage. I mean, it was in the Georgia Dome or
I wish.
Mercedes-Benz. Sorry. It was in Atlanta Stadium, Mercedes-Benz. Only scored 16 points. Are there any concerns that they showed some weaknesses that Alabama could take advantage of in this matchup, rematch that Alabama got the better of them the first time?
I don't really know if it's like a concern of them showing weakness as more as it just talking about what JP talked about. Alabama's defense is legitimately good. So even if you're a good offense, you have to go execute. I know last week wasn't good, but just in general down the stretch, what Georgia has shown as a whole, both offensively and defensively. But now you have to go do it against Bama, who is, like I said, a great defense. So, I mean, I guess I'm worried they could repeat that performance, but I don't really think it's necessarily because of weaknesses I saw from Georgia as much as it is just like that Bama defense is really good. You have to go execute. Terrible buzzword, but I did just use it, so I guess I'll ride with it.
Good coach speak.
Yeah, great coach speak. Shout out Jimbo Fisher for that one, for execute. Yeah, I mean, it's just you got to go deliver. And my last point, thinking back to their last matchup and the history, you went for it on 4th and 1 in the regular season matchup and didn't get it late. You dropped what would have been the game-winning touchdown late. You can't do that again, especially when you're playing a team that's kind of been your Achilles heel. When you have a chance to like stomp on the head and kill it, you have to take advantage, because otherwise they're going to come back and find a way to beat you or hold on to the lead. When Georgia has the chance to hit kill shots and land legit punches, knockout blows, they have to.
It's really funny because that is exactly what people would say about anytime they play Georgia when it's not Alabama on the other
Correct.
sideline. It is
Correct.
cut the head off the snake, because if you keep giving them a chance, they're going to find a way to make a comeback. As we go into now picking this game, look, I know Kirby has had what people will say a Bama problem, but I think he has a Nick Saban problem. I don't think he has a Kalen DeBoer problem. Only 2 games so far, and like Jack said, dropped a touchdown from beating Bama, the 4th and 1 as well. And then last year it was the gosh, I can't believe I butchered that. Miraculous play
There we go.
by the 17-year-old and Ryan Williams, a game that Sanders was at and said roll tide at. That is really different in Georgia leading a comeback and winning that game as well. And to use y'all's logic against you for Justin Herbert, 2 is not a trend.
Exactly what I was about to say.
It's just a coincidence. And so I think Kirby will buck that coincidence and not make it a trend against Kalen DeBoer. I think Dogs win time of possession. I think Gunnar Stockton outplays Ty Simpson. Those were my 2 keys. And I'll take the Dogs by 11. I think it's 35-24, but it's not like a 11 and Bama scores late. It's a 28-24. Georgia leads a 7-minute tantalizing drive, scores a touchdown, ball game.
So you've got Georgia.
Winning and covering.
Um,
Go Dogs, my SEC championship pick in the preseason that I also have a lot of money on, that if they win, it would be pretty nice.
Cool. Well, we'll be cheering for that. One of JP's best bets
No.
before best bets were a thing. So Josh Pate picked Ohio State to cover or beat Michigan for 3 years, and Michigan beat them all 3 years. And this year he quadrupled down and picked Ohio State, and Ohio State finally got it done. I think that that's going to be the story for me. Picking Georgia. I believe I picked Georgia to cover earlier this season. I think I felt good about Georgia going into their last matchups, as when Alabama goes in and beats them. But I think that this is the 3rd time's the charm, or however many times it's been since Georgia beat Alabama. I do think that this matchup, if you've been picking Georgia and you're finally like, well, Kirby's got an Alabama problem, don't let yourself believe that. I think triple down, quadruple down, whatever number it is, and pick Georgia. I think that they'll get it done.
Don't you dare. Quadruple down, triple down, times 10 down, whatever it is, because I'm going to pick Bama to win this game, and therefore Bama to cover. They just have it in a lot of ways. I love Ty Simpson. I find it really hard to pick against Ty Simpson. I may be the biggest Ty Simpson truther on the planet, apparently. But it's that combined with the fact, sure, this was my preseason SEC champion pick, my preseason national championship pick. I haven't backed down on it once, not even when they lost to Florida State. Even though I was worried, I didn't fully back off. And so why in the world would I back off now? Give me Bama to get it done again, and then we can start having conversations about it being a Kalen DeBoer problem as well as a Nick Saban problem. Give me Bama. I almost do feel like I almost need to root for Georgia in this matchup, though. It's really weird.
Yeah.
Funny
because
thing,
for A&M and guaranteeing to host, I need BYU and Bama not to both win.
Yeah.
a funny thing about this spread,
Do it.
the Georgia hosted Bama earlier this year, and they were 2.5-point favorites, and they are 2.5-point favorites again, meaning that Georgia, which is you would feel at least, I think at this point, that spread wouldn't move, and that might be just to pick them, but they have done enough to, and the odds makers, keep the spread where it is with losing home field advantage.
Yeah, but say that means that they've technically gotten better
Yes.
in the odds makers' eyes.
which I think you can see as when watching them as well.
After
Yeah.
losing that game.
Yeah.
To Bama.
Couple things. Don't look now, but Jack, who is 3 games behind me and JP. Me and JP are tied at 45 and 43. Jack is at 42 and 46. Has now picked the same as both of us, or different than both of us. So we were all on North Texas to cover, and then me and JP picked BYU. Jack's got Texas Tech. Me and JP picked Georgia. Jack's got Alabama. We got 2 games left, so that'll just be something to keep your eye on. Is Jack setting himself up for a successful weekend, potentially? Maybe. Who knows?
Crash or burn.
Yeah.
Or, great success. I guess time will
yeah,
tell.
those are the options. And then the other thing, so Trail said in the chat that he is one of the few people who thinks Notre Dame is actually good and would do extremely damage in the playoffs if they were in. What I'll say to that, I think a lot of people are on Notre Dame being extremely good. Yes, you guys.
Yes.
Notre Dame is extremely good. I think the issue lies in they've got a weird, Miami beat them, and so that's why people don't want Notre Dame in unless Miami
a
can
lot
be
of
in ahead of
people
them.
don't. A lot of people also think they're overrated from a team quality standpoint as well.
Okay, I haven't seen that as much,
Just
so maybe
because
that's
they're
the
like,
case.
oh, they've played no one,
Yeah,
so you
I'm
can't
not trying to
act like they're
discredit,
good.
Trail's take and saying he's one of the few people. Maybe it is still a minority. I just feel like the majority of people that I see, albeit I'm on a small part of social media. I mean, I live on Twitter, but I see a lot of the same people over and over again. So maybe it is a minority of people that do think that.
I wonder where your model will have Notre Dame if they were to make the playoff on that, like your power rankings.
From last year
Yeah.
that picked the winners. I don't know.
That's a good question.
I
I'll
would
be-
imagine it is like what Trail said in their top 4.
Yeah, probably.
I agree completely. They're an elite team.
There's dangerous.
They're the one team out of all the teams that A&M could potentially host that I really don't want to play. I'd rather
Yeah.
host Oklahoma. I'd rather host Alabama, which is crazy, but I'd rather host Alabama.
That
I'd
is
rather
fair.
host UVA. I'd rather host any of the group of 5 teams.
Even
Much
JMU.
more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
J-
even
you'd
JMU.
rather have JMU over Notre Dame? Hot
Yeah.
take.
And we've even beat Notre Dame already this year, and that offense terrifies me, and that defense is playing really good ball as well. I would want nothing to do with Notre Dame in the playoffs.
Back-to-back championships appearances, lost to Ohio State in back-to-back years, maybe.
It's possible.
Who knows? Speaking of Ohio State, I'll be interested to see how this one goes. Indiana at Ohio State.
I wish. Indiana versus Ohio State.
Yeah, that is something that, as we've been previewing them, I realized that, I did put at because Ohio State is considered the home team, but I probably should have just done versus.
It'll be all right.
I may go back and change it in post for the videos that we do, except for, obviously, the Tulane North Texas game. But I may go change and throw some graphics over that say versus instead of at. Because while they are at Ohio State, it is not truly a road game.
Saturday night, 7 p.m. Indiana faces off against Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. Ohio State is favored by 4 points currently. Should be an absolute dogfight. These teams have been number 1 and number 2 in the rankings for weeks and weeks now, and they've deserved it. They've looked every bit the part of the number 1 and number 2 team in the country. And so now we finally get to see on the field how these two teams stack up and who really should be the number 1 team in the country. I can't wait. Should be cinema. Y'all's thoughts on this game, though?
Yeah, there's 6 rematches this weekend. This is one of the few that aren't a rematch of a game this season. Indiana, Ohio State somehow did not play each other this year, and it has been a big contention point with these Big Ten and SEC and also ACC schedules, especially ACC, that none of these teams have played each other, and so it's really hard to have your head-to-heads. And so you get to the point where you're in the conference championship, and now the number 1 team and the number 2 team in the country, which this is just the 3rd time ever that a number 1 and number 2 team will face off for a conference championship. The last time was when Florida and Bama faced off in the Georgia Dome. Funny enough, Kurt Signetti was a part of that. He was on the Bama staff for that game, so he is part of that history. Bama ended up beating Tim Tebow in the Georgia Dome that year. For Indiana, I just want to put into perspective how quickly a thought process has changed, and the fact that it has changed this much is unbelievably insane. It is diabolical. Indiana, prior to Kurt Signetti, had 0 12-win seasons, 0 11-win seasons, 0 10-win seasons. That's 0 double-digit seasons. They've had 2 9-win seasons ever. 1967 and 1945. They have had 61 losing seasons in their history of their football program, and they have had 5 double-digit loss seasons. Now with Kurt Cignetti, they've had 2 straight playoff berths. They are 23-2, and they have a potential Heisman Trophy winner at quarterback. They also have risen to the number 2 power ranking for a lot of Vegas, Josh Pate, any of those. Last year they were frauds, and now they are the consensus number 2 team in the country with 2 ranked wins this year over Oregon and Illinois, both top 10, one on the road at Oregon, the other at home. Last year, when they were frauds, they only played 2 ranked games, both of which are on the road, and both losses to the teams that played for the national title, Ohio State in the regular season and the playoff game against Notre Dame. So maybe that Indiana team wasn't as fraudulent last year as you compare them to this year's team, and I think that could be a compelling argument as well. But regardless, Indiana has turned quickly into a very dominant program, and it is something to talk about in the offseason, but it'll be curious to see, do they continue that? I would fully expect it with the Kurt Cignetti extension, maybe not to this kind of level because they have had to rely on these past 2 years on transfer quarterbacks and Curtis Rourke and Fernando Mendoza, and they more than likely will have to again unless Alberto Mendoza is going to be a star. Jury's still out on that one. But for this game specifically, Indiana, I think it comes down to one side of the ball. Because on the other side of the ball, there's one argument that can be made, and if that argument is true, it does not matter. And I'll go ahead and make that one. Ohio State's offense versus Indiana's defense. If Julian Sayin is able to hit deep pass plays over the top to Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, and they're able to run the ball like they did with Bo Jackson, and they're able to go on a 12-minute drive that ends up resulting in a field goal in a game, it will not matter. But if they are slightly slowed, then Indiana has a chance, and they only have a chance at that point, which is funny and crazy to say in a matchup between the number 2 and number 1 team in the country. But Indiana offensively has to produce. They are 9th in total yards this season with 466 per game. They are the 9th best rushing offense in the country, 223.6 per game. They are 50th in passing yards at 242. Offensively, I'll go and I'm going to name all the playmakers because, quite frankly, I don't think many people have watched Indiana games this year outside of the Oregon game and the very end of the Penn State game because it was close. And the same for Ohio State. No one's really watched these Big Ten teams play a ton of games because they haven't played a ton of high-profile games. And so you don't know the teams like you know Georgia, and you know Bama, and you know Texas A&M. You know all of those teams, and you know their playmakers and their best players and their quarterbacks and their coaches. You don't necessarily know that for Indiana and Ohio State. For Indiana, they're led by Fernando Mendoza, who proclaims all glory to God every single time he has an interview. It is one of his best characteristics. He also has been, people have claimed that he is built by an AI, given the way he answers some questions as well.
Or that he reads off a prompter. I've seen
Yes.
accusations of that.
That as well. Look, I'd also argue the way he answers interviews doesn't sound much different than Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson also praises all glory to God, but he also has those kind of responses. His interview, go watch his interview after the Iron Bowl. It looks no different than it does for Mendoza this year. Sadly, both of their careers are over after this season, as one of them is guaranteed to be the Jets quarterback, and the other one is more than likely guaranteed to be a Browns quarterback. And I think their careers are over, sadly.
Sure.
So enjoy them while they still last. And Fernando Mendoza has been great this year. He has 32 touchdowns through the air, 5 picks, and then 6 rushing touchdowns. For Indiana, they have the 9th best rushing offense. They rely on 3 backs, really 2, but they have a third, and Kobe Martin they will use. It's Roman Hemby and it's Kalen Black. Roman Hemby has 866 yards on the ground this year with 6 touchdowns. Kalen Black, 737 touchdowns. Kobe Martin, though, has also had 6 touchdowns and 450 rushing yards. They aren't your typical backs that you can rely on in the passing game. In fact, they only have 17 catches all year, those 3 backs combined, which is actually kind of insane. You don't expect Indiana to set up the screen game, which is something, if they start doing it, maybe they've saved it for some reason, or they just realize that we haven't relied on our backs, and so Ohio State doesn't plan for the screen game, and maybe you can set that up. When we get into Ohio State, I might argue that that wouldn't even work. They also have a dynamic duo of receivers in Omar Cooper Jr. and Elijah Surratt. Cooper Jr. has 58 catches for 800 yards and 11 touchdowns, and Surratt has 48 catches, 650, and 11 touchdowns. They have been big playmaker guys. They are not guys that just have 7 catches and 80 yards every game. No, one of them usually pops off for 10 catches and 140 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then the other has a quiet day. So which one will get the explosive day against Ohio State? Explosive in this game, though, may be 6 yards or 6 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown, given how good this defense is for Ohio State. And they are full of monsters. I'm not even going to read the stats. Go look at their stats. They are insane. They are all basically top 3 in pretty much every single category. But they have guys that are going to be stars when they get to the NFL, and that is Arvo Reese, who is a consensus top 3 pick. Some are arguing the number 1 overall pick. Sonny Styles Jr., Central Michigan legend, would be the best linebacker on every team in the country, but maybe 2. Texas, you could argue with Anthony Hill Jr., and then Ohio State. He's only worse than Arvo Reese. This guy is also a first-round pick. It is the best linebacker pair in the country. Joel Klatt's going to say that 7 or 6 times on the broadcast, I'd argue. Caleb Downs, I haven't even mentioned, which to mention him third is insane. But he has been elite since he was a freshman at Alabama. He's a consensus top 10 pick. They also have Caden McDonald, a first-round defensive tackle who plays the nose, who is a nose tackle. He'll play right over the center, which can be a problem. Imagine a first-round defensive tackle who's 320 pounds bearing you down. You have to snap the ball and then immediately go to block him. It can be trouble for Indiana center. And then Caden Curry, who is their best edge rusher. I will say he is worse than pretty much all of their pass rushers in their history. But they've also had the Bosas, Chase Young, Jack Sawyer most recently. They have had elite pass rushers. He is not that, but he can still be a game breaker. And then for their corners, specifically Davidson Igbinosa. He has great traits. He's going to be a draft pick. In this game, will he struggle with PI calls? I think is something to look at. He has struggled with that in his career and had some pretty bad PI moments where he's just tackled receivers because he wasn't able to cover them correctly. Can he cover and play well against Omar Cooper and Elijah Surratt? But with all those playmakers for Indiana offensively, they've got one to try to run the football somehow and pick up yards against 2 of the best linebackers in the country and an elite defensive tackle. If they're able to find some kind of rushing threat, then maybe they're able to be in some favorable passing situations. But for the most part, I fully expect them to be in 3rd and 7+ a lot this game, which means Fernando Mendoza and those 2 receivers have to be really, really good. And that is the key to it. I think if Mendoza turns the ball over, this game might be over. Bryce Underwood struggled extremely against Ohio State. Didn't break 100 passing yards. I think Mendoza does. But it is a huge key to this one. If they can get some kind of passing attack, they might have a chance. But again, like I said, Ohio State, if they can hit Jeremiah Smith, just another elite receiver, and Carnell Tate, it may not matter. And it is crazy to think that 1 versus 2, only a 4-point spread, 4.5 in some places. to feel like it's such a big overmatch is crazy. But Indiana has a chance to really, really throw a, as Josh Pate would say, a crowbar in the bicycle spokes. If they are competitive in this game, if they outright win this game, it opens up the whole book to really, I'd argue, 11, for sure, though, 10 of the teams that are in the playoff could win the national championship.
It's crazy that if Indiana wins this, you don't just immediately assume that they are the dominant team that they've played like all season. Why not?
I feel like they can still get stumped.
Okay.
Because I think there are many teams that are right there on Indiana's level. But this is our first chance to see Ohio State against a team with really a remote chance to potentially beat them. And I think it could be a huge statement if Indiana's able to do it. Then, okay, if Georgia plays Ohio State, they can do it. Oregon, A&M, Notre Dame, Alabama have a chance. And I think you'd argue for much of the public perception that with all those teams, they would feel like those teams have a better chance in those games already. So if Indiana does it, it could open up the door for all those teams to feel like they have a chance. At the same time, it's scary because if Ohio State loses this game, it does not matter. Their season's not over.
Yeah.
And so that means they have to lose again. And I don't know if you see another loss for Ohio State.
One thing that I will be looking for going into the season is can Indiana capitalize on opportunities? That's one thing Michigan failed to do is they go down, get in the red zone. I think in the red zone, but they kick. They get down, they go kick a field goal, right? You get an opponent's possession, an opponent's side of the field, and you're not able to capitalize and get a touchdown and take a field goal. Julian Sayin, second play of the game, throws that pick. You get another field goal. In the second quarter, you get another field goal. Those are 3 drives where if you're able to capitalize on opportunities, on being able to drive down the field or, getting that turnover and you score touchdowns, you go into halftime up 21-17. It's an entirely different ball game. Instead, you don't score for the second half, and maybe you don't score for the second half if, either way. But it's just Indiana's got to be able to capitalize on those opportunities in ways that Michigan did not. And I think Indiana is much more suited and equipped to capitalize on those opportunities than Michigan was. And so that'll be something I'm watching for is if Julian Sayin comes out and throws a pick or 2, or if there's a muff punt, one of those things. And we talked about it like with Texas Tech and BYU. If Indiana gets a little bit of luck that goes their way, they then have to capitalize on that luck because luck will only get you so far. You have to then finish it. And then another thing I'll be looking at is can Indiana's defense? I think Indiana's defense is really good. So I've run some calculations. Like I look at relative performance. So how you do relative offensively. How many points per game are you scoring relative to how many points that team allows? And so, on average, Indiana scores 18 more points per game than teams allow or would be expected to allow, given every other one of their performance. That's second in the country. But defensively, they're 5th. They're right up there. They hold teams, on average, 14 points below expected, below average. That's right there. It's right behind Oklahoma. It's right ahead of Iowa and Oregon. Ohio State is only 3 points better at holding teams 17 points below average. So I think that there's a real opportunity there. Ohio State's offense ranks 14th. They score below 10 points per game more than expected. So I think there's a real opportunity there for if Indiana's defense can create those opportunities for the offense. Because I do think Ohio State's defense is so good. Indiana's going to throw a lot of shots at the dartboard. They're going to need to maximize possessions where they're in that game. And that's where the defense really comes into play. Because if the defense gets down 14-0, and then Ohio State can start to create those long drives, or Indiana starts to look at the logo and feel like they can't win, which I don't think a Kurt Cignetti team would ever do, but it's always a possibility in these high-profile matchups where one team is the program underdog as well as the spread underdog. I think that it's really important that Indiana's defense give the offense as many opportunities as possible where we've got a game on our hands, because I think that's going to be really important.
Yeah, they almost have to in my eyes. It's a playmaker defense, kind of what you just talked about. They have to go make plays. They have the best turnover margin per game in the country at 1.7. They win the turnover margin by an average of 1.7 a game, and they're going to need that. And then capitalizing the red zone, like you said, is a key point. Sanders, is just interesting that like they are definitely better equipped than Michigan is, but it's still not even an advantage for them. Like if they go get in the red zone, I almost still don't necessarily expect them to score a touchdown, because as good as Ohio State's defense is, just in general, they're elite in the red zone. They don't let teams get easy points. You're going to have to go earn it. And so that's just going to be interesting to watch. I'm excited. Really all I want to do, I don't even really care about the Ohio State offense versus the Indiana defense. I know it does matter. I just talked about it. But I just want to watch the Indiana offense face off against the Ohio State defense and see how that goes,
Absolutely.
because it should just be an absolute treat to watch.
Yeah, Ohio State's only given up 9 touchdowns this year, and we've seen Indiana at least play a playoff caliber team at Oregon so far this year. And Mendoza wasn't excellent. He threw a pick 6 in that game. That very well could happen again. But when he did throw that pick 6, after they threw that pick 6, they drove right back down the field and ended up scoring a touchdown of their own, retaking the lead. And it was in a large part and reason Indiana won that game. I didn't mean to at least discredit Indiana's defense. They are very, very high caliber. And we have also seen a matchup for them against the playoff caliber team in Oregon. Like I said, Dante Moore struggled a lot. He only had 186 passing yards. He had 2 picks in that game. And Oregon only ran for 80 yards as a team. That could very well happen to Ohio State. But I think the fear is there that has been kind of brought up for multiple weeks is, has Ohio State been pulling punches? Have they been avoiding showing their best stuff? Pate talked about it, but I think other people have as well, that maybe Ohio State still hasn't played their A-plus game yet, their best game yet, and that is a tremendous fear. They are a sleeping giant that if they are as good as they seem that they are, that it will not matter for anyone. And I think that's a huge fear going into a game like this and then each of the games in the playoff for Indiana and Ohio State. But we can get into picking this one. It'll be a potential Aura Fest between Kurt Cignetti and Ryan Day. Ryan Day claiming after the Michigan game that we want to win with humility. He should turn on the tape after the Notre Dame game that he won, winning with humility there. Also, with the way he reacted after they won the national championship, where he was very bombarding, and tooting his own horn a ton when he failed to beat Michigan that year. On the other side, Kurt Cignetti is a walking Aura Fest. He will try to give every line possible. Very, very interested to see his pregame interview right before they start the game. He is one that is at least delivered on those. I remember one in which Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, they played at Alabama when Saban was still there. I think it was either 3 or 4 years ago, and it was on CBS. And right before the game, he does his pregame interview, and he says, "Get your popcorn ready." And then that was the only answer he gave to any question, and ran off. And Ole Miss got blasted in that game. Will Kurt Cignetti have a similar story? I hope not. But it very well could happen where he says something like Ohio State hasn't played this team.
It sounds like the Vanderbilt guy who's like, Alabama, when you play us, you can learn how to play SEC ball.
Yes.
You're next. And it's like, well, I mean, technically we are next on their schedule.
I hope that doesn't happen in this game. And then also for the quarterbacks, I think a lot of people are arguing, we didn't discuss this in this preview, but they're playing for the Heisman Trophy between the two of them, which is insane to say. That we're having a 1 versus 2. We're also having the Heisman Trophy and a Big Ten championship all on the line in one game. And yet this still, for a lot of people in the media and in the public, specifically Twitter, have said this is the least compelling 1 versus 2 matchup ever. I don't feel that way. I'm really compelled. I can't wait to watch this. I'm really excited this year.
Maybe because it's the lowest the stakes have ever been, because traditionally when 1 versus 2 happens
Yes.
not in the BCS championship, it's for an opportunity to play for the championship.
And the season's over for the loser.
Yeah, that might be
Sure.
the only argument you could make.
I think that's a fair argument, but I also still think there's a lot that's still out there on the table for these two. I'm really excited that this year Gus Johnson and Joe Klatt are on the call. Fox, as they should be, because CBS and Fox are flipping each year for the Big Ten for who does the championship. So I'm ready for another Gus Johnson moment. Does he lose his voice again after a Fernando Mendoza play?
I hope so.
We'll see. That being said, I picked Indiana to beat Oregon earlier this year. I just had a feeling that they were playing better football than them. I don't feel that way for this game. I'm going to pick against Indiana. I think Ohio State wins, and I think they cover. They are rightfully the number 1 team in the country and have been all year. And I feel that way in this game as well. I think they'll go out there and win the Big Ten championship. That being said, I will be cheering for Indiana because who doesn't love cheering for the underdog?
Yeah. I'll go ahead and go next. I went ahead and put my pick up there just in case JP picked Indiana. I wanted 0 accusations and me just tailing him for the sake of our pick 'em. I'll be picking Indiana to win and cover and win, whatever that order goes in. I'm so excited for this matchup. I think that this is a level. I think that I'm not going to say talent-wise because, all the stars and the recruiting would point to Ohio State, but Indiana is playing like a team that is on Ohio State's level of talent. And I think the coaching job that Kurt Cignetti and the way he's went and found the guys who didn't have the stars next to their names and they're playing like 4 and 5 stars, they're playing like blue chips. I think that's been awesome. And I do think that this is going to be a great matchup, but I think Indiana is going to win. Super excited to see that. And it'll be a great validation for me if it happens because I've had them ranked number 1, I believe, since the Oregon win. And I try to do my rankings primarily resume-based, but I do think that Indiana has the on-field play to back up the resume they have with that win at Oregon, the undefeated record, all that. I can't wait. Where is it, JP? You said earlier.
It's in Indianapolis.
Okay. But I imagine it will not be hopefully close to 50-50 given that Indiana.
Maybe.
I don't think it'll be in Indiana's favor at all, but I imagine it could get close to 50-50.
The problem will be for many is just people, true fans of each team, which of course I think it'll be 50-50, but the true diehard fans are going to get left out in this game because the lowest ticket you can buy right now is $650.
That's very fair. And I
Before
imagine
fees.
that there's Ohio State has a lot more fans or wealthy fans or people who are just like, oh, I'm just going to go to the game because it's a great matchup and I'm going
Or-
to cheer for Ohio State because it's Ohio State.
They're also like the Yankees in that everyone's a Ohio State fan.
Yeah.
They're one of those teams.
Well, I can't wait to see it. Jack, your pick. I mean, I feel like I know who you're going to pick because
I wonder if LeBron's going to be there. Just something to think about. I got Ohio State. I'm not going
I
to
hope
back
not
down.
during the season.
They don't play that night, and then they're in Philly Sunday.
Oh, okay, maybe.
So there's a chance. And I think they're in Boston before that. So kind of in the area. I doubt he's there, but he's an Ohio State guy apparently. I'm going to take Ohio State. I just think they're the best team in the country. It's only a 4-point spread. I'm going to take who I think the best team in the country is to cover the 4-point spread. I think they have way more avenues to win this game than Indiana does. Stuff happens. It's college football. But I'm going to ride with the Buckeyes, and I don't really care who wins, to be honest.
yeah. Maybe this is just recency bias, but this feels like it may be one of the best conference championship weekends. It's just we get Alabama, Georgia, which I know that some of the narratives there are we're tired of seeing this matchup and why is game day going there instead of the Big Ten. That's going to be a great matchup. It's going to be huge, and I can't wait. We've got 1 versus 2. We've got the American Championship, and that's for a playoff spot. We've got a 7-5 Duke in the ACC, which adds just a little bit of chaos and how the heck did this happen to the weekend. It's college football. Crazy stuff happens. It really doesn't make sense. I think it's going to be a great weekend. I can't wait.
I mean, I think it's going to be a great weekend because it's college football, but this slate as a whole doesn't really speak to me
Really?
on a greater level than other college football.
Yeah, I wish we were gonna
or
get the-
college
we
conference
were-
championship weeks. Excuse me.
We were gonna get the play-in games. Like I wish the Vanderbilt Miami game got scheduled somehow.
That would have been fire.
That would have been crazy. So move
I
on.
saw.
Go ahead.
Okay. I saw John Gruden. Did y'all see his video? His
I did not.
6-minute video about how he's going to fix the playoff.
I saw part of it. I didn't get
And
to its
then-
conclusion.
I saw Josh Pate commented, was like, I am interested. My people, like, his classic, like, joking, like, I'm interested. My people will be reaching out. And then someone commented, so you're in favor of college football playoff expansion? And Pate was like, no. But I'm with the dude who commented. Maybe this is as he says, smart people say dumb things. Maybe we're being dumb. But John Gruden's argument is just to expand the playoffs to like 16 to 20 teams. It's just they're playing games, and they're during conference championship weekend. If you lose, you're out, and if you win, you're in. Well, that's just playoffs. Like it's an elimination game. But I don't really know. I didn't know if y'all had seen that or if y'all had
I did
thoughts
not.
on that.
I don't hate the idea. I don't love the idea. Clearly, the current model's not giving us fantastic results. So maybe trying to tweak it by kind of an outrageous proposal would end up working somehow. I don't know. But
Yeah.
I didn't see the video. I didn't know exactly his reasoning and stuff.
It's gonna get expanded. I know that much. But they're not gonna fix the calendar.
Personally, I hate it.
Hate what?
I wish it was still 4.
I mean, I do too, but we're not going to go back to that. I'm just being realistic.
Sadly, because as a guy who playing the video game, playing in the 12, it is like it's exhausting. It is you play that 12-game season, you play if you're lucky, you get to play in the conference championship if you're not. And then if you don't have that first round bye, you have to play 4 playoff winner go home games. And that is so much compared to when it used to just be 2 or
Yep.
just 1.
Yeah.
And it's just hard.
It would help with the calendar, but no one's gonna say that.
It would 100%.
And that's the much bigger problem. And people who are like, well, we have more than 12 teams who could win it. It's like, no, I think we've got like about 4. We should probably go with that. 4 would be good. But that will never happen.
There's more than 4 that could win it this year.
I agree.
Maybe that could, but like, or there's 1. There might just be 1.
Or there's just 1, and then we don't even need to play this whole game. Just give it to Ohio State.
This
Yeah, let's
should
just
just
go-
be the BCS National Championship.
But then if Ohio State beats Indiana, who's number 2?
Then it'll be give it to Georgia after they beat Bama.
If they beat Bama.
Yeah,
When
I don't
they-
know.
when they beat Bama.
If they beat Bama. If
Sure.
they beat Bama.
What about BYU if they beat Texas Tech?
They don't deserve to win the national championship. They just deserve to win the Big 12
Yeah,
and
I
then
don't
go
know.
play in one of those games.
The Peach Bowl.
Yeah.
I've also seen people talk about getting rid of conference championship weekend.
No. Conference championships matter
They
to
do.
90% of head coaches.
Yeah,
I agree.
I mean, what if you replace them with another round of the playoffs?
No.
Okay,
I like the conference championship.
I agree.
I do as well. There's just
But-
only so many weeks to play with is the problem.
It's the only way to, with the conference being so big, it's the only way to crown a champion. And that was like part of Gruden's is you crown a division champion pretty easily because everyone plays each other twice.
Yeah,
It's impossible to do that with how big the
I
conference
think that's the biggest, the easiest solution would be to fix conference sizes and go back to 10 to 12 teams. But that
Yes.
will never happen
Sadly.
Thanks, Texas.
once Josh Pate's college football commissioner.
It's Texas's fault.
It is Texas' fault. Horns down. Let's get on to our last college football conference championship preview, and that is the ACC. A rematch of a regular season matchup we got where UVA handled business, went to Duke and just kind of beat them up, had over 500 yards of total offense. Actually kind of helped Duke out. They threw a pick 6 and turned the ball over. I think Chandler Morris threw another pick besides that. Duke really struggled offensively. Like I said, it was a blowout, but the rematching here, and UVA is a 4-point favorite. Y'all's thoughts on this game?
Yeah, spread was like, I think it was 2.5 originally, and it's moved up. People have been vetting Virginia because people then went and looked at their prior matchup and saw that huge advantage towards Virginia. And I agree, Jack. They also helped Duke in this game with the pick 6 by Chandler Morris. We talked a ton about that game was reliant on turnovers. It was something that Chandler Morris has struggled with in Virginia's losses and close wins. And, of course, for Duke and their losses, it was largely due to the fact that they fumbled the football or Mensa happened to throw a pick. Duke actually protected the football, won the turnover battle 2-1. Mensa had a fumble in the game, and also scored 7 points out of the turnover battle, and yet still lost by 17. And that was because Virginia got whatever they wanted offensively. And that really hadn't happened too much to Duke so far this year. They had been pretty solid defensively. But Jamari Taylor had 133 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns, and Chandler Morris had 316 through the air. Like Jack said, over 500-plus yards of offense. It was really one of the first times that Duke offensively really, really struggled outside of, I'd argue, the Georgia Tech game. But other than that, they have been really, really terrific offensively, moving the ball up and down the field. Turnovers were what were holding them back. They lost that game. They unimproved to 5-5, and now they're 7-5 and somehow back in the ACC championship game. And we somehow thought wrongly that with them losing that Virginia game, they were done. They were not. They beat North Carolina on the road at Chapel Hill, and they beat Wake Forest last week, and here they are. Again, I think I'm going to call that a one-off in that other game. I think this game, again, comes down to turnovers. It's been the problem for Duke in all 5 of their losses this season, and then it has been a problem for Chandler Morris is turning the ball over. I think we'll see a little regression to the mean offensively for Duke. I think they'll have a better day offensively, but you may still see that offensive day from Virginia. You don't just all of a sudden turn it around and stopping the run. You don't all of a sudden just force a guy to go from 133 rushing yards to 70. He might go down to 110, but that's still really, really impactful. Stopping the run, you either have the guys to do it or you don't. And so if Virginia can continue to run the football like they did in that last game, it may not matter that Duke turns it back on offensively. Huge kind of a high-pressure moment. I think this, of course, this matchup holds so much of impact in terms of the last teams in, potentially, as well as the 11 seed and the 12 seed in the playoff. If Duke wins this game, it pretty much guarantees that JMU, if they were to beat Troy, and they are 23.5-point favorites over Troy at home as well, that JMU will make the playoff as well as the American champion, and there's your 11 and 12. That would mean we're in a potential doomsday scenario, which is the Duke doomsday scenario, where Duke does not make the playoff as the ACC champ, and Miami is held out because the committee thinks Notre Dame is better than Miami, and they're held out by 1 spot. In the event BYU loses to Texas Tech, where they're a 12.5-point dog, that would ruffle a lot of feathers, I should say. And while the ACC doesn't have the power that the SEC and the Big Ten has, can you imagine a format that they agreed to? They would never expect this to occur, but the committee saying no to an entire Power 4 conference, a Power 4 conference which is with a national champion winning head coach in Dabo Swinney, with the brands of Florida State and Miami. It would be diabolical. And so Virginia may be the ACC's last hope, because I'm going to be upset if Duke were to win and now they put Miami over Notre Dame.
Sure.
Even though when they're ranked that closely, that is the right thing to do. For you to say it week after week after week, and now you just want to change it to make Miami happy, I'm going to be really upset. So I think
That's fair.
Virginia is the last chance for the ACC, and they have to play with a ton of pressure because of that. I also disagree with Manny Diaz, who said this week that if Duke were to win, the ACC championship champion should be in no matter what. No.
You lost 5 games, brother.
They lost 5 games. You lost to UConn. You lost to Tulane, who may be a playoff team. And if you go back and watch it's an FCS game, but go back and watch the Elon game at the beginning of the year, and not to Elon Musk, Elon the college. That game, they won 45-17, was a lot closer than it looks. This is a really wishy-washy Duke team.
Wishy-washy is a good way to put it. I'm most curious, and not in terms of X's and O's. Does the pressure get to UVA? You've never really been in this spot before. I will say Tony Elliott's head coach. He's been in this spot a lot as a coordinator at Clemson, so maybe he can bring some of that experience over from his days in terms of how to handle it, how to keep the guys locked in, so forth. But I am also wondering if, while there's so much pressure, if one, obviously they can't overlook this game because if you lose, you're not in the playoffs. But they might not even really care about that at this point because they never play for an ACC championship. They have a chance to do something that's basically never been done before. I don't think they've ever won an ACC championship in football. They may have one. I wish I looked. But I think they're just fully locked in on getting that done and making history in that regard for UVA. And then they can move on to the playoffs. X's and O's wise, I think Duke needs to run the football a little bit more than they did in the last matchup because Nate Shepard's a pretty good back. He's a very good back in my opinion. And that's just a way to help Mensa get settled in, is if you can take some of the pressure off of him. Because when they played last time, he was 18 for 35. Mensa, that's just over 50% completion. They need him to be way better. You got to find a way to get him settled in. And if you can get the run game going, that kind of, in a way, helps them get settled in. It takes some pressure off. Because I'm kind of with you. I think UVA can largely repeat this offensive performance.
Yeah.
They just dominated. They ran the ball well. Chandler Morris had guys open. He had what he wanted against that kind of weaker Duke secondary. And they may not have 540 yards again. That's kind of an extreme. But north of 400, 30-plus points again, I think it's very much there. So then the onus is on Duke's offense to have the better performance, not turn the football over. Maybe you can turn Chandler Morris over again and take more advantage of that. But still, I think it's going to be on the Duke's offense if they want to have a chance to just trade punches with that UVA offense. That's what I'm looking at.
Sanders?
I don't have a whole lot of thoughts on this game.
You talk about Mensa and getting that run game. 50% completion is like an anomaly this season. The worst
Correct.
he's had is 58% in the game against Tulane. He threw the ball 51 times in that game. And so that's eventually going to hurt your completion percentage. He's averaging, I'll round up to 68% completion percentage to avoid saying that hated number. And he has been really terrific. He's been really efficient. He has 28 touchdowns and 4 picks. Run game is only going to help them there. It's going to force them into, not force them, but put them in more manageable passing situations. And I agree. They got to lean on that run, continue to lean on that run even if they start trailing early. Don't start going to the pass game immediately. While Mensa is really, really a phenomenal quarterback and has been for much of this entire year, you need to give him as many good passing opportunities as you potentially can. So run the football with Nate Shepard, especially early on in that game. And that's something to definitely look at. Virginia was a 2.5-point favorite. It's up to 4. This game will be played in Charlotte in the Carolina Panthers Stadium. So home field maybe for Duke. It is in the same state. But I don't know the pulse of Virginia. Maybe they should travel well.
Yeah, and Duke doesn't pack out their own stadium, let alone travel.
Agreed.
I think it's just going to be a light crowd in general.
Yeah.
I don't think any team will experience much benefit from the crowd.
Your typical Panthers crowd, except when now they've turned the season around at 7-6. Virginia, like I said, 4-point favorite. I expect a similar offensive output. I think this will be really a shootout kind of game, and I'm really excited for that because I think we're going to have a potential defensive slugfest in the Big Ten championship game that is happening at the exact same time. The total on this game is 57.5. I take the over. I think you're looking at two teams that score near the 30s, if not both in the 30s. That more so would favor towards Duke, but I'm going to take Tony Elliott, Clemson Tiger legend, Chandler Morris, and Jamari Taylor, and the Virginia Cavaliers to win the ACC championship and to make it into the playoff and avoid the Duke doomsday scenario. Speaking on the crowd, Ohio State versus Indiana, the lowest ticket price was $650 before fees. The ticket price for this game lowest is $35.
What a difference.
So we going?
I don't know about that one.
Yeah, I'll be busy. Give me the Cavaliers. Virginia to cover the 4 points, and that'll be me taking every favorite but one. And the favorite in that game is the worst team, BYU. Or Texas Tech, I should say. Sorry.
Wow.
Wow. I'm gonna clip out the Texas Tech part and just be like, this is the worst team, BYU. And
As he wears a
Um,
BYU shirt.
okay, I will be picking UVA. I have little faith in this Duke team and their ability to show up for big games and not have a dozen turnovers.
Yeah, I am worried for UVA here just because it feels like it would be very Duke this season to somehow win this one and have it not really matter in terms of the playoffs. But, I mean, Duke's just laid egg after egg, and I think UVA is the better team. We've seen it once on the field when they matched up. And I think not only is UVA the better team, but I think they're playing their best ball of the season right now, and that'll matter in this matchup. So give me UVA. Make it a little clean sweep. And that means this comes down to the OSU-Indiana game for who wins the pick'em.
For the regular season.
For the regular season pick'em.
Let's see. So we'll
Because y'all are the exact same.
uh-huh.
I can tie Sanders, but I cannot physically catch JP because we only picked 2 games different.
Okay.
Wow, so I could finish in third after all of this.
No,
You can
I
finish
can't
tied
pass
for
you.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, if
you will finish second.
I mean, if you end up letting Jack tie you, is it really any better than third after the comeback we've seen?
I can tie Sanders for second. Nah, that's not even possible. I don't think
I don't know. I've got a
it's
3-game
just
lead.
irrelevant.
Yeah. We'll see it all.
I actually can't get first. I don't think
I don't think so.
it's impossible with the way it shakes
Because
out.
you'd have to make up, 4 games?
I can't even tie for first
You can tie Sanders, though.
because I have picked 3 games different than you, right?
Uh-huh.
But if I get all 3 of those games correct, JP beats me by 1.
Yep.
Correct.
And then obviously if I don't get all 3 of those correct, you just beat me.
Yep.
Looking
Would you
great
like
for me.
Would you like to change your UVA and
No.
no
No.
Texas pick?
No.
You sure?
I'm positive.
He's stuck to his guns all year on that. He's done a good job.
No, he hasn't.
I slipped once, and I repented and got back on the high horse in that regard.
And so now apologizing just so for
He
Jack
re-
when he
He
apologized.
repented.
I have said that I made a mistake.
It's a little different scenario as well.
Very.
Because if you were at the episode, I said I'm kind of leaning this way, but I also truly do believe this outcome could happen. So I went with a theoretical.
Let's speed run our NFL here. Let's get into it.
I agree.
So Sanders can get to his basketball game.
Big basketball tonight. Big basketball game tonight. Y'all should come.
I will not be there.
I know. I really
I have to pick up a pizza.
totally fair. I do hope that is
Best
this
of luck.
women's basketball team.
That's a big time pizza delivery.
Yeah. The women's basketball team is good and getting better. So I do hope that people start to get excited to come to those games like they were in the late 2010s. Because in the late 2010s, we had the lower student section bowl was packed out. I mean, it got crazy for big games. So I hope that starts to come back because this women's team is good. Cincinnati at Buffalo.
The Cincinnati Bengals travel to Buffalo, take on the Bills, where the Bills are 5.5-point favorites. Bills have kind of started to refine their form these past couple weeks after a midseason slide of sorts. And the Bengals have their boy Joey Burr back as they are looking to maybe perform a miracle and win out and make the playoffs. But they have a huge test to even kick off, I guess, running the table, and that's the Bills at home. Y'all's thoughts on this game?
What's funny is if for this game, if we're just talking divisional prospects with the Baltimore Ravens at 6-6 and the Steelers at 6-6, the Bengals at 4-8. If Cincinnati were to win out, they have roughly an 87% chance to win the division regardless of what happens in the Steelers-Ravens series.
Yeah.
The 13% is if that series is a sweep.
Yeah.
To one side, then it lessens the chances. But specifically, it is huge if the Steelers sweep, because the Steelers have a weaker schedule than the Ravens. The Ravens still have to play the Packers and the Patriots, along with those 2 games against Pittsburgh. So it is insane to think that what was a 3-8 team on Thanksgiving morning is 5 games away from winning the division, 5 in a row, and it starts right here. They also still, though, would have a better than 50% chance if they were to lose this game. So can you imagine the fact that a 4-8 team has margin for error in terms of winning the division? That is how bad the AFC North has been this year. Joe Burrow and the Bengals, the last time they played Buffalo and the Bills, was a huge moment in NFL history when Damar Hamlin collapsed on the field on Monday Night Football, and it impacted a lot, of course, fantasy football playoff runs for a lot of people, but also was huge for the sport itself. I don't know about y'all two. I know I remember where I was when that happened. Do you guys remember where you were?
I do not.
What?
When Damar Hamlin collapsed.
Yes, I
on the
do.
field.
I was actually on a bus coming back from Tampa Bay for a bowl game. I was on a band bus. I can't remember what game I was traveling. Was it?
Zach Arnett
Yes.
defeated.
Yes. It was coming
The
back
Fighting
from
Illini.
that bowl game, or we were on a bus traveling around. I'm not sure if it was the night we were coming back, but
It
I was on
was-
that bus for that
yeah.
trip. But yeah, it was crazy.
It was the same day, if I'm not mistaken. It was the same day, that
yeah.
Monday.
So then that night.
I was at Disney. I was at Epcot when I got the news. The most magical place on earth. But that is the last time these two teams faced off. Of course, they had a huge playoff matchup in the snow where, according to some, Joe Burrow's only career accolade was when he had the pass in the warm-ups where he throws it and then does the spin. You know that gif of Joe Burrow, big aura thing. That is the only 2 times they've ever played is Joe Burrow versus Josh Allen. Joe is 2-0 in those 2 games against Josh Allen. But here he comes to Buffalo with that offense, the way they played last week, and now with, I guess you could say, maybe this defense turning it around with the way they played last week. It's going to be a very interesting test to see, are they up to the par with Buffalo now after they've done it already on the road in Baltimore. The key to this game for Buffalo, and the key to the game in general, is James Cook. If he has a good day, if he gets 20-plus carries and gets 120-plus yards, it's over. I don't think Cincinnati has enough firepower, even with Joe Burrow returning, to make this a game. But if Cincinnati can slow down the run a little, force Josh Allen to throw, which apparently is forcing turnovers this year, he's gotten back to his old ways. Cincinnati has any fighting chance in this game. 12 p.m. on Fox. It's going to be a noon kickoff, so not a cold weather late afternoon kickoff. Also, no Jim Nantz and Tony Romo on the call, so you don't have to hear Tony Romo slobbing on these 2 men. Immunity, of course, that statement, but I said that with a purpose. We have 2 models here in-house, the pyramid and the totem pole, the new totem pole, which has just arrived this past Tuesday. The pyramid has no pick on this game because Cincinnati is a graveyard team. So we would tell you to pick Cincinnati plus the 5.5 points. The totem pole, however, leans really heavy to one team.
It's got to be Buffalo.
Yes. The totem pole thinks Buffalo should be a 10.5 point favorite. It is the largest lean of any game this week
Sure.
for the totem pole. And so, Jack, I am curious to see why your totem pole immunity leans that way. Immunity.
I mentioned it when I unveiled the totem pole. That I need to see another week with Joey Burr back before
Yeah.
I really move them up big. But I am impressed. They really are not with Joe back that bad or as low ranked as I had them. So I'll go and say it right now. That's a bad totem pole spread.
So you're not encouraging people to put their life savings on it or anything?
No, not at all. You have to take what the totem pole gives you, and then look at that in context of everything else.
Yeah.
So,
I like what you said last week about how if you use the totem pole for gambling advice, you need to call the hotline. I think that's
unless the totem pole starts doing really
We'll
well,
see. It's
and
the
then
first
you
week
may
for
want to
it.
use it.
maybe.
Shall we pick this game?
Yeah, we can get into picking it.
Bet.
I'm going to lean with my pyramid.
Naturally.
You said it didn't have a pick.
It would tell you to pick the graveyard team.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going to take the graveyard team as well because I really want to see what our production team has in terms of unearthing a team and how that looks. I'll go ahead and tell you, this is what I've alluded to in Tuesday's show a ton. If Cincinnati wins this game, and especially if they win it in a similar fashion to the Baltimore game, I will have no choice but to bring Cincinnati out of the earth
Back from the dead.
and back from the dead, which would be unprecedented, of course, in the pyramid's great history.
Yep.
Yeah.
Of
Long,
2
illustrious
months.
history.
Yep.
So I think Cincinnati covers because of my pyramid. I'll tell you right now, the key to the game is James Cook. If he runs well, it's over. If he doesn't, and I think he doesn't, Cincinnati has a chance. I won't guarantee an outright win, though, for Cincinnati. I'm a
Sure.
fence ride this game
Sure.
and take Buffalo to win.
I'm going to pick Cincinnati because I was very high on them in the preseason, and then the team that I picked fell apart, i.e. Joe Burrow got hurt and missed a lot of the season. So I'm going to go with Cincinnati now that Burrow's back. This is hopefully the same offense that I picked to win, I think, 11 or 13 games, a crap ton of games. I am not thankful that he got hurt. It's a great cop-out for me because, he got hurt, so I was not wrong. It was just he got hurt, so it sucks, but it is what it is. I'm going to pick Cincinnati to kind of back my preseason being high on the Bengals.
Sure. I did say the totem pole is given a bad spread. I do like the thought of the totem pole, though, in terms of favoring Buffalo, just not by that much. So I'll take Buffalo to cover. I think they've kind of refound their stride. I expect them to feed James Cook. I don't expect that Cincinnati defensive performance last week to be necessarily repeatable. And so I think Buffalo will win. Cincinnati will get their points, but not enough.
To answer Chromie in the chat, he is asking if the Bills lose and the Dolphins win, does that bring the Dolphins back to life? No. Divisionally, it's impossible, essentially, because New England has such a big divisional lead over Miami and Buffalo. It would move the Dolphins to 7 losses and 6 wins, and so they would technically be 2 games back of Buffalo, but then it becomes a wild card race for those teams. Because they split the series, they don't have the head-to-head over Buffalo, and now you have to really actually compete with who can get the 7 seed, which would be an 8-5 Buffalo, potentially 8-5 Houston if they were to beat Kansas City, but a 7-6 Houston if you went with the odds makers, a 7-loss with 6-win Pittsburgh, Kansas City who's 7-6, and then Miami who sits there at 7 losses, 6 wins. Cincinnati would also be back in that picture at 5-8. It doesn't really open the door. It would help them. It's the only way for them to continue to have a hope to somehow sneak into the 7 seed, but it doesn't make a huge difference if Buffalo were to lose this game and Miami win.
Sure.
Buffalo could win this game and Miami could win as well, and it would have nearly the same impact because the Colts and the Chargers sit there at 8-4 as well.
Makes sense. Shall we move on to our next game?
Let's do it.
The first of the 2 regular season matchups for the Steelers and Ravens, and both are going to matter a ton as they are neck and neck atop of the division standings, despite neither of them really having great seasons. But that's just how the division is shaped up. And the Ravens are 6-point favorites at home in this edition of this matchup. Questions about Aaron Rodgers' health, questions about Lamar Jackson's health as he didn't even practice today. So it's going to be interesting to see who's at QB for these teams come game time, what their health is going to be. But even with that big question, or those big questions, like I said, Baltimore's a 6-point favorite. Thoughts on this game, guys?
Yeah, you would think with these 2 big brands that even here sitting at 6-6 for both of them, that this is like 2 really potentially competitive teams that if they make the postseason should be viewed as dangerous. But like I said in Tuesday's show, you should view this division this year no differently to the way you view the NFC South, in that the teams aren't really that great. They are just good. They're fine teams. And the numbers repeat that as well. Steelers offensively, they're 27th, so bottom 5 offense in the league. Defensively, they're 28th best offense, so bottom 4 in the league. For the Ravens, their offense is 20th best in the NFL. That's bottom half. And their defense is 26th best. That is bottom 6. Those are all total yards per game, so these are just two bad teams facing off in each other. A huge key to this game, of course, is Baltimore being at home. Who starts at quarterback for Pittsburgh? If it's Aaron Rodgers, maybe they have a chance, but really it may not change much with Mason Rudolph playing as well. Rudolph has started a game this year, started at Chicago, actually played pretty well in that game and gave them a fighting chance. So you may even end up arguing that it would not matter who plays at quarterback in this game. But in reality, the biggest key to this game is, do the Steelers find any kind of pulse in terms of hitting a deep play over the top with DK Metcalf? You're facing a Ravens secondary, which has been tested much of the year, was destroyed really by Joe Burrow on Thursday last week on Thanksgiving. Can you find any success with DK Metcalf over the top with newly signed either 2018 or 2017 Pro Bowler Adam Thielen? Which it was hilarious. Someone tweeted earlier this week that Mike Tomlin, the kind of guy to say, oh, we need to make some changes in-house or whatever, and then sign a 2018 Pro Bowler. 2 days later, they signed Adam Thielen after he was released by the Vikings.
It is funny, too, because it's a better situation for Adam Thielen in terms of this. But he was like, I'm retiring after this season. I just want to sign with a team like a contender. And then he goes to Pittsburgh, and it's like, I mean, once again, it is better than the Vikings, and that probably realistically, he doesn't have tons of control. That's probably one of his best options out there.
Was he claimed from waivers or was he signed?
It might have been claimed from
I'm
waivers.
pretty sure
could've
he
been
was claimed from
claimed from
waivers. But yeah, it's just funny. He's like, I want to go somewhere that's a contender, and then Pittsburgh's like, woo.
Yeah. Sadly, Steelers will be without big play Slay, who was released, claimed off waivers by the Buffalo Bills, but is threatening to retire if Buffalo wants to sign him, like full-on sign him. But
Yeah.
Buffalo owns the rights to him.
Yeah.
Slay was trying to get back to Philly. Philly also put in a claim, but Buffalo had the priority there with the worst record. Even though they have the same record, just they had the tiebreaker, whatever. Blah, 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 blah. I think, like I said on Tuesday, this is the key to the division, this game. Whoever wins this game will win the division. If the Ravens are to win this game, they'll have enough avenue to be able to somehow steal one of the Patriots or Packers games, and then I think they would go win in Pittsburgh the final week of the year. But if Pittsburgh wins this game, they have some favorable matchups still remaining for them, getting to play the Dolphins and Browns still, and so that's potentially 2 wins, and then they get to host that final week against Baltimore and win the head-to-head there fully. So I think this is the key to the division. I think the Bengals still have a chance, and the odds would say that. But if Pittsburgh were to win this game, they have the keys to the car and could steal, pun intended, the division from the Baltimore Ravens this year, and finish 9-8, lose that first-round playoff game, and then bring in an old quarterback to right the ship.
Yeah.
And never draft a quarterback and continue to be in purgatory. For the game itself, for the X's and O's, if Lamar plays, are we going to see any kind of Lamar Jackson offensively? The last 4 games, 1 touchdown and 5 turnovers. He's been really, really bad after that Dolphins Thursday night game, his return. And against the Steelers defense, he struggled for much of his career, especially in the head-to-head. Can you find any success from him? You're at a point in the season where you almost wish you could just rest him because he's clearly playing hurt with toe, hamstring. I think he's also got a shoulder injury as well that's come up on reports. But they're 6-6. They're still fighting for the division, and because they started so bad, they have no option to be able to rest him. So you may end up seeing Lamar might get fully hurt in this game, which we don't wish for that because he's so electric. But he's got to protect himself in this kind of game against T.J. Watt, against Alex Highsmith. And so I think for Baltimore, you got to rely on Derrick Henry. Give him the ball. That was I would argue the reason that they lost last Thursday is they were not able to take advantage of Derrick Henry. He has, if I'm not mistaken, 7 touches in that first quarter and then 3 the rest of the game. He ran for 60 yards on those 10 touches. That's 6 yards on average per carry. Lean on Derrick Henry and make Pittsburgh beat you. Try to score 20 points because they struggled to score 21 much of the time. And I think Baltimore can do enough to win this one. Any keys before we pick?
Yeah, I feel like, and I'm just going back to look at the stats now. I do feel like it's been and maybe this is when they were losing, a narrative of them not relying on Derrick Henry. And yeah, looking at their losses, 8 carries, 12 carries, 10 carries against Cincinnati. In their wins, 21, 19, 20, 18, 21. And there's some losses. The loss to the Rams, a really good football team. He had 24 carries, 122 yards, and 5 yards per carry. I feel like it was a pretty clear picture of when you lean on him, it goes well. A couple outliers, the Rams and the Bills, 2 really good football teams they lost to. When you don't, you can struggle and lose to the Chiefs, lose to the Lions. So I think that's a big part is just reemphasizing the point of Derrick Henry is still a dynamic running back, even in his, age 31 season. He's 31 right now. He'll be 32 in January, so his age 32 season. Leaning on him is so important for the Ravens, and I don't know why we see them constantly do that, where they'll lean on him for a quarter or they'll lean on him for a half, and then he'll just disappear for the second half. And they just get away from what makes them great, and what makes them great is Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson running the ball. They're just so dynamic and such a great threat. I'm not really sure why they tend to do that.
I'll give them a little bit. I'm not going to say a pass because as the OC, as head coach, you're obviously paid the big bucks and you're in a situation to successfully navigate these situations. But they have Lamar, right? They haven't had him all these games. Like last week, they have Lamar. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. You think that if you can put the ball in his hands, he's going to give you a great chance to win the game. He didn't do that last week, and I think a lot of it is because he's just not been healthy. And now he may not play this week, and he's probably going to be healthy again. So I agree they need to feed Derrick Henry. But you still have Lamar, and if you're not running the ball with Derrick Henry, it means you're putting the ball in Lamar Jackson's hands. And it's not like I hate that proposition either. It's just not working out for him this season, and I don't know why, and they need to figure that out. But it's where they're at. Should we pick this game?
Let's do it.
What do the models have real quick for us?
Yeah, Totem Pole right now thinks they should take Pittsburgh plus the 6 points. They have Pittsburgh plus 5, and the Pyramid agrees. They think you should take Pittsburgh plus 6 because we have Pittsburgh plus 4.5. So very similar leans for this game, and I think I'm going to agree. I think the Ravens win this game, but this is looking like a 20-17 kind of game where Pittsburgh covers that spread. So give me the Steelers to cover but not win. Another fence ride.
Yeah. Sanders?
Yeah, I'll also go with Pittsburgh. I still, and maybe this is just my early season bias, but little faith in the Ravens. Just with how they have managed, like I said, managed Derrick Henry and his usage, and then Lamar Jackson injuries. Is he at 100%? How does he play? So I'll take Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'm going to take Pittsburgh to cover as well. Similar reasons. Until Lamar Jackson proves he's fully healthy and can play at that high level again when he's fully healthy, I don't have tons of trust. And so I don't have tons of trust in Pittsburgh either, but I at least have enough to have them cover. And, of course, I'll trust the models.
On to Chicago at Green Bay.
The Bears travel to the Packers with first place in the division on the line. I believe the Bears currently have a half-game lead. That would go away. They'd be 9-4 if they lost, and the Packers would become 9-3-1. And then if the Bears win, they establish an even firmer grip on the division with a couple games left. Something to note, this is their first time matching up this season. They'll be back at it again in a couple weeks in Chicago. So there's still a ton to play for. This division's still wide open, but it's a massive game. The Packers would love to get back first place after kind of a mid-season slide. It looks like, watching the Lions game on Thanksgiving, the offense looked back. Jordan Love looked back. Toyotathon. Jordan Love is becoming a real thing. Apparently, if you look at the stats, do we see more Toyotathon Jordan Love this weekend? Is it even still Toyotathon?
It is Toyotathon.
So expect a big Jordan Love game at home, and maybe the odds makers are aware of that because they have Green Bay favored by 6.5. Thoughts on this game?
Toyotathon typically runs,
Yeah, as a Toyota employee.
or as it's a Christmas kind of holiday thing.
Yeah,
So it runs through November towards the end of the year. It runs because the lots have to pay a certain amount of price for each car that they have on the lot for tax purposes. So every car that they have on the lot, they have to pay a certain number for taxes if that car is on the lot on January 1st. And so that's why car companies will boost advertisement, have these Toyotathons.
because even if they sell it for a little lower rate, they still make more money than if
Correct.
it just sat there and they sold it later.
Yes, and the Christmas
Gotcha.
deals, and that's why you see everyone has a commercial of, oh, that's the best Christmas gift for your wife or husband is a car.
Yeah,
It's not. There are better things, I'd argue.
I'd also agree.
But that being said, go buy some Toyotas. Toyotas are great. And Jordan Love Toyotathon is a real deal. He has one pick, and he has, I had it pulled up. I'm pretty sure it's 33 total touchdowns. 33 touchdowns, one pick, 4,000 passing yards, and a 91.9 passing grade per PFF. During Toyotathon, during his career, he's been elite. He will face Chicago and a defense that is the best in terms of taking the ball away this year. They have 26 total takeaways. Green Bay is actually the best at not turning it over.
Yeah.
Only 7 this year. But in reality, I think the real key to this one will be, because that is strength against strength, does Chicago continue rushing success against one of the best defenses in football?
Sure.
In the Green Bay Packers on the road in Lambeau Field, with division on the line, number one overall seed on the line, all of those factors. I think for the Chicago fan, you'd feel more comfortable that is the case than you would if it was, Caleb Williams throwing the football as our engine to the offense. And so even though you've spent the number one overall pick on a potential superstar in the league in Caleb Williams, the fact that you're having this rushing success is only going to help you in big games like this and the big games going forward this season. And so I'm really curious to see how does Ben Johnson scheme up that rushing attack against that front and that front seven that Green Bay has. It is the key to it. DeAndre Swift, Combinant guy versus Edgerrin Cooper and Rashawn Gary and Micah Parsons. All of those factors are huge to this game. And they're huge to the game as well because it's December, it's Lambeau. The temperature at kick is going to be 16 degrees.
That's brutal.
16 degrees. No snow in the forecast, so no snow game, but it is going to be brutally cold. And so this is where what I talked about for almost a month now, can Caleb Williams throw the ball well in the cold weather? It may not matter because they're rushing the ball so well with Munangai and DeAndre Swift. And for me, that's the key to this game. Do you have any keys before we pick it?
No, I think it's exactly that. This is not the game you expect the Bears passing offense to suddenly find it, given who you're facing, given the weather. So can you continue to pound the rock? And then do you trust in Toyotathon Jordan Love, the offense you saw last week, to come back? Can he still protect the football? Stuff like that. The other thing, this is not X's and O's wise, but we keep asking questions about this Bears team. How good really are they? And they keep delivering. This is yet another one of, you have a chance to extend the lead in your division. You have a chance to beat a divisional rival that's had great success against you in recent years. What's the makeup of that team? It's a good chance to prove that you kind of have that dog in you, whatever that means, that you have that killer mentality to go and just not leave things up for grabs. It's firmly in front of you. Go take it. And so I'm interested to see if they can do that under Ben Johnson or not, or if the Packers are going to be like, no. We still kind of run this matchup.
Maybe with the Jordan Love resurgence, this is the game where we get the Matthew Golden 100 receiving yards as a first-round pick.
Maybe it's
Not in this weather.
The weather affects them too.
Yeah.
Maybe if he takes a little screen pass and pops it,
Yeah.
but he's not even getting the screens right now. Like Savion Williams.
Yes. Getting to picking it as the NFL Pick'em leader, and the leader, of course, both Pick'ems this year. Trust in me to give you the right lean.
Sure. Do we
but I
need to
will
shout out
go
that record?
18-21.
There we go.
Could you ask for any better? Yes, you could.
I
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah, no, Jack cannot.
My
Jack said a
pyramid.
solid. Sorry, Jack said a solid 11-28 on the season when it comes to picking.
Yes, but he's got the totem pole now, so things might change.
Yep.
My pyramid, though, thinks you should take Chicago plus the 6.5 points because the pyramid has the Chicago Bears only underdogs by 4.5. It is also one of my best bets this weekend. Give me Chicago plus 6.5. But let me fence ride for the third time and give me the Packers to win, but not cover. The
Cool.
totem pole. Actually, we'll go Sanders, then we'll get to totem pole.
I'm also gonna go Chicago, which is unfortunate because that means me and JP are going to tie yet another week. I'm really just saving my pick for when we pick something different for one I feel really good about. I think Chicago proved themselves last week in a lot of ways to me, beating Philadelphia. Philadelphia was
Yeah.
the 1 seed in the NFC. I think this Bears team is for real. Maybe they do it in ways that you would not have expected coming into the season, given who they brought in as the head coach, taking the Lions OC, whose name is escaping me.
Ben Johnson.
Yes, Ben Johnson. And kind of the way he coached the offense at Lions, it was dynamic, it was passing, it was Amon-Ra, Jameson Williams, it was trickery. And yeah, at Chicago, it's been running the ball with Kyle Monangai and DeAndre Swift, and it's worked, which is surprising, but I can't argue with the success that they've had. And they've beat lesser teams, and now they've beat the Eagles. And I think that means that they can hang with some of the best in the NFC. I think the Packers and the Eagles are two of the best in the NFC, so I'll have the Bears hanging with the Packers here and covering. And the totem pole?
Yeah, give us the totem pole.
The totem pole agrees with the pyramid.
Good.
This is the second highest lean of the weekend as well to that Buffalo one. It thinks Chicago is only a 2-point dog at Green Bay, meaning they'd be a favorite on a neutral field, and that is because, Chicago's one spot ahead of Green Bay on the totem pole. So it leans Chicago plus 6.5.
And I like that. I'm gonna take Chicago to cover. I do think Green Bay's gonna win this game, but I'll take the cover. So I guess we're all on the same page there as well.
Yep. Big opportunity here for Jack to make up a game.
Yeah, one game helps me out a ton at this point. With that being said, shall we get on to the best bets and then get on out of here so Sanders can hit the road?
Yeah, I need
Yes.
to leave in about 15 minutes. It'll be fine.
Well, I'll go ahead and get through the best bets. They'll be really quick, and
Fine.
they all come from the pyramid.
Shout out the
because
pyramid.
that is where we've come for best bets in the recent weeks. At this point, we went 3-0 last week, so we are 25, 33-1. We are 8 games back still, so a long road to go, but we've got 3 bets for you this week, and 2 of them are games we've already picked that I picked. As the pick'em leader, it only helps if the pyramid is also agreeing with how I feel as well. Pittsburgh plus 6 is our first best bet of the weekend. We think Pittsburgh should just be a 4.5-point dog in Baltimore. And then Chicago plus 6.5 is the other best bet of the games we've picked. We think Chicago is a 4.5-point dog and not 6.5. And the final one goes to Monday Night Football with the Chargers and the Eagles. Take the Chargers plus 3, assuming Justin Herbert starts. We
You
think the
don't
Chargers.
You don't trust Trey Lance?
I don't trust Trey Lance, no. And we think the Chargers plus 1.5 if Justin Herbert starts. If Justin Herbert doesn't start, we will take Jacksonville plus 1.5, against the Colts. The Colts haven't won in Jacksonville in 13 years, and Jacksonville is only a half-point dog in that game instead. So those are the three best bets in terms of Pittsburgh, +6, Chicago, +6.5, the Chargers, +3. But if Justin Herbert doesn't start, I hope you already bet on Jacksonville +1.5. That's Sunday.
It's a big weekend. This is you said you're 8 games behind 500, below 500. That's the first time since I think week 10, somewhere in there,
Yeah, it's been a
that
while.
you've been that close. So
Let's have another
yeah, a couple more 3-0 weeks and you'll be at
perfect
500.
week. Yeah, I love it.
We
Cool.
hope and we pray.
Well, it's been fun, but Sanders really does have to be at the stadium in 38 minutes.
Yep.
So I guess we'll not prolong our outro any longer. But
I mean, we could talk about Chris Henry.
well, I take that back. I have one thing I need to add.
Oh, go ahead.
Will y'all be tuning in to Pat McAfee's music release?
Oh, I thought you were going
Thursday
to
night.
talk about something else about Pat McAfee.
No.
You're not gonna listen to Dookie?
No.
Okay. Just
I will
curious.
not be. I will also not be watching Game Day as they talk to Lane Kiffin and discuss
will.
his many virtues.
Hater.
I will. I just want to see what they got to say.
I probably will end up watching it just to see what happens. But it's just like,
With that being said, thanks to all who tuned in. Thanks to all who are watching the recording after the fact or listening to the podcast. The support means a lot. If you're still here, you might as well subscribe, leave a like, something of that nature. And thanks to Chromie and Hip Hams 329 in the chat for keeping us company.
and hey, let's not forget our other
Oh,
friend,
and Trail to the
Trillito.
100. I apologize.
Yeah,
Meant no
very
disrespect,
active
Trail.
earlier.
Yeah, means a lot. And we'll be back for y'all Sunday to recap this weekend of college football. Hope to see y'all there. Peace.
See ya.